Chapter 560. In Imperial Yu City, a large number of disciples and soldiers gathered in Emperor Yu's hall. Among them, there was a quiet and secluded bamboo house with no maids or disciples. In the bamboo house, a handsome man sat cross-legged. He was dressed in a smooth purple robe. There were a few strands of silver hair on his temples. This was the genius expert of Emperor Yu's hall, Yu Feng, who had just broken through to the emptiness realm. He was also the third emptiness realm expert of Emperor Yu's hall. Yu Feng's facial expression changed as he looked towards the southeast. Oh no! He could clearly feel two powerful auras of souls flying towards Emperor Yu's hall. The auras were much stronger than his, a novice emptiness realm expert. At the same time, Lu Xia Huang Tianqin, come out? A loud and forceful voice resounded throughout King Yu's city. It sounded like the angry rebuke of a deity. The millions of citizens of Imperial Yu City, as well as the tourists and merchants from all over the world, stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky in astonishment. At this moment, many people in Imperial Yu City saw a huge, flame-like godly bird hovering high in the sky. Even though it was too far away, many people couldn't see the person on the back of the godly bird. The undying phoenix. It's the undying phoenix. The godly beast, fiery phoenix. Immediately, countless people exclaimed. The undying phoenix is here. Ting Qingshan must be here. Almost instantly, the streets of Imperial Yu City were filled with citizens looking up. In the past 17 years, the legend of Ting Qingshan had spread through the streets and alleys. Who didn't know the relationship between Ting Qingshan and the undying phoenix? For example, the undying phoenix followed the omnipotent expert, Li Taibai. Now, when the undying phoenix was mentioned, everyone would naturally think of Ting Qingshan. Xiao. Ting Qingshan stood on the back of the undying phoenix and looked down at the huge city below. At the same time he let out this angry roar. A beam of light from Emperor Yu's hall rapidly shuttled between the buildings in the city and rushed out of the city. Humph! Ting Qingshan smiled coldly. This time, he came to make an example out of Emperor Yu's hall. He wanted to use Emperor Yu's hall as an example to intimidate the other sects in the world. If he didn't make a ruckus and let more people know about it, how could it serve as a deterrent to the other sects and serve as a warning to the others? As expected of the oldest sect, I didn't expect that Emperor Yu's hall would have another emptiness realm expert in the past 17 years. However, judging from his aura, he's just an emptiness realm expert who has just comprehended the water elemental Tao. Ting Qingshan could rely on the speed of the undying phoenix to rob and kill him, but he didn't. He must have gone to find Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia. The undying phoenix flapped its wings and quickly followed the fleeing emptiness realm expert of Emperor Yu's hall. Outside Emperor Yu's hall was the Blind Bear Mountain Range. The true foundation of Emperor Yu's hall was actually here, in the dozen or so seemingly ordinary palaces. Lu Xia Huang Tianqin, come out! That voice also traveled to the Blind Bear Mountain Range. Lu Xia, dressed in a green cloak, and Huang Tianqin, dressed in a yellow cloak, dashed out of the sacred palace and hovered in midair. They immediately saw a beam of light rushing towards them. It was their junior, the third emptiness realm expert of Emperor Yu's hall, Yu Feng. The two flew to the top of the nearest mountain. Yu Feng's figure flashed and he landed on the top of the mountain. Elder Lu Xia, Elder Huang. Yu Feng glared at the fiery red beam of light flying towards them from the southeast. That should be the undying phoenix. Ting Qingshan is here. Yes, it's Ting Qingshan. Huang Tianqin's gaze turned cold. At the side, Lu Xia's face darkened. He said in a deep voice, this Ting Qingshan actually dared to shout our names above Imperial Yu City. He really doesn't respect Emperor Yu's hall at all. This time, if we don't teach this Ting Qingshan a lesson, everyone in the land of the 9 prefectures will look down on Emperor Yu's hall. This time, I want to see why this Ting Qingshan is so arrogant. Huang Tianqin was also furious. This time, it was even more embarrassing than the last time. This was equivalent to being kicked in the door. If they showed any weakness, the martial ancestor would lose all face. Ha ha! A loud laughter came from afar. The undying phoenix was hovering in midair. The white-cloaked Ting Qingshan stood on the undying phoenix and held the reincarnation spear in his hand. He looked at the three emptiness realm experts of Emperor Yu's hall who were standing on an ordinary mountain. Lu Xia, Huang Tianqin. The two of you should know why I'm here this time, right? Ting Qingshan stared at the three people in the distance. It was obvious that the three of them had ugly expressions on their faces. The yellow-cloaked Huang Tianqin, who was the leader, said in a clear and cold voice, Ting Qingshan, your Xing-Yi sect and Emperor Yu's hall have never interfered with each other. However, you, Ting Qingshan, have provoked Emperor Yu's hall time and time again. Do you think that Emperor Yu's hall is so easy to bully? If you can't give us a reason today, don't even think about leaving this mountain range alive. The other two also stared at Ting Qingshan coldly. At this moment, 3 of the 4 people were on top of a mountain. On the other side, Ting Qingshan was on the back of the undying phoenix in midair. In the Blind Bear Mountain range, many demonic beasts and elite disciples of Emperor Yu's hall were looking up at the 3 people in the sky. Although it was still morning, the scorching summer sun was extremely scorching. The entire Blind Bear Mountain range was already filled with hot air. However, all the disciples were looking up. Reason? Ting Qingshan was so angry that he laughed. He glared at the 3 people on top of the mountain and said, "Today, I will tell you a reason. Last year, Emperor Yu's hall framed and kidnapped a disciple of the branch of internal martial art. Since ancient times I have never heard of such a thing. Which sect would kidnap a disciple by force?" As soon as Ting Qingshan said this, Lu Xia couldn't help but shout, "Ting Qingshan, this happened last year. Moreover, the people we captured all have witnesses and material evidence." Ting Qingshan smiled coldly. Witnesses and material evidence? To the emptiness realm experts who stood at the peak of the land of the 9 prefectures, the so-called witnesses and material evidence could be fabricated. However, Ting Qingshan understood what Lu Xia meant. Emperor Yu's hall had been scolded by him last year and lost face. Emperor Yu's hall didn't retaliate. Lu Xia obviously meant that both sides were even. Alright, let's not talk about this for now. At the beginning of this year, in the region of Yenzhou, a team of escorts from the Qingshan Enterprise Hall specialized in escorting internal martial art cultivators. There were over 1,000 disciples who wanted to join the Xing-Yi sect. However, halfway through the journey, they were attacked by a mysterious army. When Ting Qingshan said this, the 3 members of Emperor Yu's hall froze. They were clearly confused. Those disciples were all teenagers. They were all youths who dreamed of being heroes. They had not really started cultivating. I didn't expect that Emperor Yu's hall would do such a thing, Ting Qingshan said angrily. Nonsense. Emperor Yu's hall didn't do such a thing, Huang Tianqin shouted from afar. Humph, how can you deny it? Ting Qingshan took out a stack of papers from his bosom and tossed them out. Enveloped by the power of the heavens and the earth, the stack of papers shot toward the 3 members of Emperor Yu's hall like a ball of light. The Xing-Yi sect has already investigated the situation. The leaders of this troop that wants to slaughter over 1,000 disciples of the Xing-Yi sect are Guojieshio and Gan Zitao. Do you dare to say that these 2 people aren't members of Emperor Yu's hall? Huang Tianqin and the other 2 took the paper and looked at it doubtfully. I didn't expect Emperor Yu's hall to be so ruthless. Apart from the second matter, there's also the third matter. Ting Qingshan shouted coldly. Recently, Emperor Yu's hall stole an important secret technique of the Xing-Yi sect, the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist. Now there are still many people in Emperor Yu's hall who are cultivating the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist. Just now, when I was high up in the sky, I saw someone in Emperor Yu's hall practicing the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist with my own eyes. You have nothing to say about this, right? Ting Qingshan's 2 facts made the 3 people on the distant mountain feel even more angry and sullen. In the Blind Bear Mountain range, many disciples raised their heads and looked at the scene. They were all shocked and confused. Did Emperor Yu's hall really send people to kill over 1,000 cultivators of the internal martial art? It can't be. Every cultivator had their own dreams, so slaughtering a group of youths who had yet to truly start cultivating was a laughingstock. The elite disciples of Emperor Yu's hall couldn't believe it. Ting Qingshan's continuous questioning was very imposing. However, the people of Emperor Yu's hall quickly sorted out their thoughts. Haha, Ting Qingshan. You said that Emperor Yu's hall robbed and killed over 1,000 cultivators of the internal martial art? This is pure nonsense. Even if Guo Jiexiu and Gan Zitao were among them, they might have been bribed by outsiders. Moreover, I suspect that this evidence was fabricated by the Xing Yi sect. Huang Tianqin sneered. Ting Qingshan's face darkened. Emperor Yu's hall has a glib tongue. However, you stole the secret technique of the Xing Yi sect. You have nothing to say, right? Ting Qingshan's voice spread. Stole? Huang Tianqin sneered. Back then, the Xing Yi sect spread a secret technique called the Tiger Form Fist Art and sold it at a high price. Emperor Yu's hall also bought a secret technique of the Tiger Form Fist Art at a high price. This time, the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist was also bought by Emperor Yu's hall with a large sum of money. Why? Emperor Yu's hall bought the secret technique last time, and now we are buying it again. We are neither stealing nor stealing. What's wrong with that? Huang Tianqin said in an imposing manner. Shameless! Ting Qingshan suddenly roared. Huang Tianqin was so angry that his face turned purple. The 9th Emperor Cannon Fist was created by me, Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan sneered and said, This is my fist art. Emperor Yu's hall dared to be so arrogant in front of me without my permission. You said it in a dignified manner. You are really shameless. Ting Qingshan was not an ordinary person. He was the founder of the branch of internal martial art. He was the one who created this fist art. Huang Tianqin, Lu Xia, and Yu Feng were so angry that they didn't know what to say. Emperor Yu's hall bought this secret technique at a high price. We have a clear conscience. Ting Qingshan, don't you dare cause trouble in Emperor Yu's hall, Lu Xia shouted. Huang Tianqin, who was at the side, said coldly, Ting Qingshan, look carefully. This is Emperor Yu's hall. It's not a place where you, Ting Qingshan, can behave atrociously. Silence, the entire mountain range was silent. Even the black bears seemed to be shocked by the imposing manner of the Emptiness Realm expert. None of the black bears dared to roar. On the back of the undying phoenix, the white-cloaked Ting Qingshan remained silent for a long time. Then he grinned and said, Since you are being unreasonable, it seems that I still have to rely on my fists. The facial expressions of Huang Tianqin and the other 2 Emptiness Realm experts changed drastically. Chapter 561. Since the establishment of Emperor Yu's hall over 6,000 years ago, there had indeed been people who dashed to the entrance of Emperor Yu's hall and argued with them. However, there were very few people who dared to make a ruckus in Emperor Yu's hall. Previously, both sides were just talking, but if they were to fight, it would be a matter of life and death. Moreover, the land of the 9 prefectures was very afraid of Emperor Yu's hall. Not many people dared to cause trouble in Emperor Yu's hall. Ting Qingshan, what are you doing? Huang Tianqin couldn't help but shout. Lu Xia and Yu Feng were also ready, staring at Ting Qingshan. What for? Ting Qingshan smiled coldly and pointed at Huang Tianqin and the other 2. I, Ting Qingshan, am not a troublemaker, but I won't let anyone bully me either. All of you listen up. I, Ting Qingshan, have created many secret manuals of the branch of internal martial art. Apart from the tiger form fist art, the other secret manuals of the Xing-Yi sect are all secret manuals that the Xing-Yi sect does not teach to outsiders. Anyone who stealthily learns the secret manuals of the internal martial art will become the enemy of the Xing-Yi sect. Today, Emperor Yu's Hall stole the cultivation technique of the Xing-Yi sect. Tomorrow, another sect will steal another cultivation technique. If this goes on, what will happen? Ting Qingshan held his long spear horizontally and said, "Since Emperor Yu's Hall stole the cultivation technique of the Xing-Yi sect, I will first destroy the sacred palace of Emperor Yu's Hall. Then, I will destroy the many palaces of Emperor Yu's Hall." As soon as Ting Qingshan finished speaking, he let out a cry. The undying phoenix, Little Blue, immediately flew towards the sacred palace not far away. "Impudent! How dare you! Stop!" Huang Tianqin, Lu Xia, and Yu Feng shouted at the same time. "Destroy the sanctum and destroy many palaces? How could this be?" "Yu Feng, step aside," Huang Tianqin shouted using the sound transmission technique. If Yu Feng, who had just attained the emptiness realm, fought with Ting Qingshan, he would be courting death. At the same time, Huang Tianqin wielded a thick, purplish-black warblade, while Lu Xia wielded a shockingly large axe that looked a little like the splitting mountain axe. Xiao! Xiao! Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia flew over with divine weapons in their hand. Haha, good timing. Ting Qingshan leaped off the back of the undying phoenix, Little Blue. At the same time, he shouted with a voice transmission, "Why? Do you want to fight 2 against 1? Alright. Humph, you don't have the qualifications." Huang Tianqin stopped in the direction in which Ting Qingshan was heading towards the sacred palace. Simultaneously, he sneered and said, "Ting Qingshan, today, I will let you have a taste of the power of the axe technique passed down in the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons of Emperor Yu's Hall." Beside him, Lu Xia, who held a battle axe in his hand, had already charged towards Ting Qingshan. 1-on-1. Even now, the people of Emperor Yu's Hall still cared about their reputation. Moreover, they were not blindly arrogant. They had cultivated the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons and reached the culmination of the emptiness realm. He could unleash the full power of 120% of the power of the heavens and earth. This was the peak of the emptiness realm culmination. Logically speaking, it was impossible for Ting Qingshan to lose to another emptiness realm culmination expert. Unfortunately, their opponent was Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan could also unleash 120% of the power of the heavens and earth. Moreover, his physical strength was equivalent to 10% of the power of the heavens and earth. In other words, Ting Qingshan's limit was 130% of the power of the heavens and earth. And this 10% was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Humph! Lu Xia, who was like a shooting star in the sky, raised his godly axe with both hands like Pangu, who split the heavens and earth apart in the legends. At this moment, the vigorous power of the heavens and earth seemed to have turned the surrounding sky dark and turbid. In this world, only the godly axe in Lu Xia's hands remained. The blade of the axe still had an inconspicuous flowing light. "Break!" Ting Qingshan roared. The reincarnation spear in his hand suddenly moved. Rumble, roar, for a moment, the roar of a tiger reverberated in the mountain range. An illusory image of a tiger's head hovered above the tip of Ting Qingshan's reincarnation spear, brazenly blocking Lu Xia's extremely powerful axe. 5 Elemental Spear Technique. Vermilion Tiger Roar. Among the 5 moves of Ting Qingshan's 5 Elemental Spear Technique, only one move, Toxic Dragon Drill, could display its peak power. With 120% of the power of the heavens and earth combined with his physical strength, Ting Qingshan could reach 130%. As for the other 4 moves, he could only display 110% of the power of the heavens and earth. With the addition of his physical strength, he could only display 120%. The vermilion tiger roar contained 120% of the power of the heavens and earth. Bang! The long spear and the godly axe clashed in midair. An explosion sounded out of nowhere, and a strong shock wave spread in all directions like ripples. The entire space trembled, and the trees, flowers, and various huge rocks at the side were instantly shaken into powder. A thick layer of the surface of the surrounding mountains was cut, as if one was cutting hair, leaving only bare rocks. Dodge! Dodge! The elite disciples of Emperor Yu's hall, who had been watching the battle, and the black bears who had raised their heads to watch, were so frightened that they ran in all directions, trying to avoid the battlefield of the Emptiness Realm Culmination Expert. As for the Emptiness Realm Expert Yu Feng, he hastily ordered, hide further away. Stay at least 1 li away from them. Because of this move, Ting Qingshan and Lu Xia, who had both been shaken away, retreated several zhang and stood in midair again. Ting Qingshan, I didn't expect your spear art to be so powerful. Lu Xia endured the shock of the blood and qi in his body and laughed as he praised. After all, there had never been an omnipotent expert who used a long spear in history. It was obvious that this powerful spear art was created by Ting Qingshan. Lu Xia couldn't help but admire Ting Qingshan. He thought to himself that Ting Qingshan was indeed an incredible genius. Your axe art is also not bad. With a swift movement, Ting Qingshan flew toward Lu Xia from a high altitude. What? He doesn't need to rest? Lu Xia was shocked. Just now, 120% of the power of the heavens and earth collided head-on. If Lu Xia hadn't controlled the rebounding force, he would have spat out a mouthful of blood. It was like two ordinary people smashing their iron rods at each other with all their strength. The iron rods collided. The force of the tremors made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Lu Xia knew that Ting Qingshan, the creator of the internal martial art, had a strong body. However, Lu Xia only knew that ordinary cultivators of the internal martial art had the strength of a few thousand jin. However, this rebounding force acted on the internal organs. Ordinary cultivators of the internal martial art only had strong muscles. Even if they reached the Grandmaster realm, they would only be able to train their muscles, bones, and control their blood and qi. The internal organs still hadn't been truly strengthened. Only, his physical strength had reached 800,000 jin and he had reached the late stage of the supreme force. Only then would the internal organs be strengthened to the same level as the bones and muscles, even stronger than the dark steel. This was the true perfect body. Both the inside and the outside were perfect. Only then could the internal organs not have any problems under the rebounding force of 120% of the power of the heavens and earth. Even the eldest disciple of Ting Qingshan, Ting Shou, had only reached the late stage of the supreme force, but his physical strength had only reached 500,000 jin. It was still slowly increasing and had yet to reach perfection. Therefore, very few people knew the secret of the perfect body. At least, the people of Emperor Yu's hall didn't know. In the sky above the blind Bear Mountain range, Ting Qingshan was like an enraged devil god. With a godly spear in his hand, he continuously attacked Lu Xia. One spear after another. It was like the water of the Milky Way had burst its dike, pouring down endlessly. Pooh! Lu Xia barely managed to block 3 spears. On the 4th spear, the impact caused Lu Xia to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. Why is he not injured at all? Lu Xia couldn't help but wail in his heart. He couldn't care less about his pride and turned to flee. Lu Xia, don't run! Ting Qingshan shouted coldly and chased after Lu Xia at an extreme speed. What's going on? Huang Tianqin, who was also an Emptiness Realm Culmination expert, who was watching the battle from the side, changed his facial expression and immediately dashed over. Then, he stood beside Lu Xia. The two Emptiness Realm Culmination experts had finally teamed up. Ting Qingshan stopped in midair. The three emptiness realm culmination experts faced each other in midair. What's wrong? Teaming up again? Ting Qingshan glanced at the two and said, "Didn't you say that one person is enough to deal with me? And you said that I'm not qualified?" Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia's facial expressions turned ugly. "Lu Xia, what's going on? How did you lose?" Huang Tianqin hastily asked with the use of the sound transmission technique. Huang Tianqin had been watching from the side, so he couldn't tell how powerful the attacks of Ting Qingshan and Lu Xia were. "Freak." Lu Xia's facial expression turned ugly as he hastily replied with the use of the sound transmission technique. "Martial uncle, I used my ultimate technique in the first move. I wanted to defeat Ting Qingshan in one go. However, I didn't expect that Ting Qingshan's spear art would also have 120% of the power of the heavens and the earth." "What?" Huang Tianqin was shocked. "That's not all. He actually used 120% of the power of the spear art. He could actually use one move after another without stopping. He didn't seem to feel the strong rebounding force. It's as if, yes. Just like an insightful emptiness realm expert," Lu Xia said, "an insightful emptiness realm expert will use the power of his world to strengthen his body to the extreme." Huang Tianqin couldn't believe it either. This Ting Qingshan is obviously not an insightful emptiness realm expert. Both of them could sense Ting Qingshan's aura. The aura of an emptiness realm expert was completely different from the aura of an insightful emptiness realm expert. "Have you two thought about how you are going to fight?" Ting Qingshan glanced at Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia. He held the long spear in his hand horizontally. The tip of the reincarnation spear reflected a cold golden light under the sunlight. "Ting Qingshan, don't be too arrogant," Huang Tianqin sneered. Whoosh, whoosh. Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia dashed towards Ting Qingshan from two different angles at the same time. Finally, they couldn't care less about their pride and decided to team up. No matter if it was Ting Qingshan's side or Emperor Yu's Hall's side, they didn't send their emptiness realm demonic beasts out. Obviously, both sides were very confident in themselves. "I can defeat both of you." Under the sunlight, Ting Qingshan's huge hands looked like they were made of iron. With the reincarnation spear in his hand, the long spear instantly transformed into spear shadows. It was as if trees filled with vitality had suddenly sprouted from the vast earth. Ting Qingshan's spear shadows rushed towards them. At the same time, Lu Xia and Huang Tianqin could feel the vitality rushing towards them. It was as if they were drowned in an endless forest. "Puchi! Puchi!" Ting Qingshan's powerful hands were unscrupulously displaying the move, pursuing shadow. Moreover, Ting Qingshan seemed to explode with his strongest power with every move. Bang! Bang! Ting Qingshan seemed to have gone crazy as he attacked wantonly. Lu Xia and Huang Tianqin, who had joined hands, seemed to be on the verge of collapsing in front of Ting Qingshan's attacks. "Pooh!" Lu Xia, who was already injured, spat out another mouthful of blood. He was sent flying and smashed into a mountain in the distance. "You get lost too!" Ting Qingshan roared. Ting Qingshan changed his spear art and performed the technique Splitting Mountain. He raised the reincarnation spear high and smashed it towards Huang Tianqin, whose face had already turned red. Here's the second chapter. Continue writing, brothers. Give me your monthly votes. Chapter 562. Huang Tianqin suppressed the boiling blood in his body. When he saw the spear smashing down, his expression changed. Not good, it's force. However, Huang Tianqin knew how to deal with this kind of force. Immediately, he spun the thick purple-black saber in his hand and used the back of the saber to block Ting Qingshan's spear. Buzz! There was a strange sound of collision. Huang Tianqin gritted his teeth, and his face turned even redder. The back of the saber was also flowing with colorful light, which completely offset Ting Qingshan's force. "Pooh! This kind of silent resistance made Huang Tianqin feel even more uncomfortable than the ferocious force from before. He immediately spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and retreated explosively. The expression of Lu Xia, who was also injured, changed. "Martial uncle." He hastily flew over. Within the blind Bear Mountain range, the sunlight grew increasingly intense. However, the elite disciples of Emperor Yu's hall felt a chill in their hearts. None of them dared to believe it. We lost? The two grandmasters actually lost even after joining hands? How could he lose? The Emptiness Realm expert Yu Feng couldn't believe it as well. His opponent is just an Emptiness Realm expert, not an insightful Emptiness Realm expert. From the ancient times until now, such a thing had never happened in Emperor Yu's hall. He was defeated by an Emptiness Realm culmination expert? Could it be that we have to ask the Honorable One for help just because of an Emptiness Realm culmination? Ting Qingshan landed on the ground from midair. He glanced at Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia, who were standing together with pale faces. You stole the cultivation technique of the Xing sect, yet you don't want to admit it. Ting Qingshan sneered and said, "That's right. Emperor Yu's hall might have gotten used to being domineering over the past 6,000 years. However, I, Ting Qingshan, cannot bear to see others bully me." As he spoke, Ting Qingshan carried his reincarnation spear and walked towards the seven-floored sacred palace. Destroy temple first. He then entered Imperial Yu City and destroyed a few palaces of Emperor Yu's hall. This was what Ting Qingshan wanted to do. If he wanted to hit him, he had to hit him until it hurt. He wanted to let all the sects know the consequences of stealing the cultivation technique of the Xing sect. "Stop!" Huang Tianqin couldn't help but shout. "What, you want to stop me?" Ting Qingshan was not in a hurry. He walked towards the holy temple at a normal pace. "Stop me if you can. If you're courting death, I don't mind sending you off." Ting Qingshan walked towards the sacred palace. At the same time, he paid attention to his surroundings and observed his surroundings with his domain. The trump card of Emperor Yu's hall. Ting Qingshan didn't dare to be careless. He was going to destroy the sacred palace. The trump card of Emperor Yu's hall was about to be revealed. What kind of trump card could allow Emperor Yu's hall to exist for 6,000 years? Moreover, when the heavenly emperor of the Qin Mountains unified the world, Emperor Yu's hall disappeared. After the heavenly emperor of the Qin Mountains passed away, Emperor Yu's hall quickly rose again. On what basis? Ting Qingshan pondered as he walked towards the sacred hall. They clearly knew that Ting Qingshan was going to destroy the holy temple, but no one went to stop Ting Qingshan. How could this be? Holy temple? Is the holy temple really going to be destroyed? Impossible. Some of the elite disciples were in a state of confusion. They had been taught since they were young that Emperor Yu's hall was powerful. None of the sects were able to shake them. But today's scene had undoubtedly shaken the absolute confidence that they had cultivated for a long time. Martial uncle. Elder Huang. The two Emptiness Realm experts, Lu Xia and Yu Feng, looked at Huang Tianqin anxiously. Huang Tianqin had to agree to ask the Honorable One. Huang Tianqin was the leader of this generation of Emperor Yu's hall. Huang Tianqin clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes. He was in pain. However, even with his eyes closed, he could clearly feel the powerful aura of Ting Qingshan approaching the sacred palace. Do I really have to ask the Honorable One for help? How many years has it been? Do I have to ask the Honorable One for help in my generation? In the historical records of Emperor Yu's hall, if they were forced to ask the Honorable One for help, it meant that this generation of disciples of Emperor Yu's hall was too useless. To be forced to ask the Honorable One for help was a humiliation in Emperor Yu's hall. It meant that he was incompetent. Do I have to invite the Venerable One now? I, Huang Tianqin, am facing an Emptiness Realm culmination expert. I was forced to ask the Venerable One? Huang Tianqin kept asking himself in his heart. He was in great pain. If Pei San of the Heavenly God Palace had come, Huang Tianqin would not have felt so pained and blamed himself. However, Ting Qingshan was merely an emptiness realm culmination expert. There had never been such a case in the history of Emperor Yu's hall. He was forced by an emptiness realm culmination expert to ask an honorable one for help. No. For a moment, Huang Tianqin's mind was in chaos, and all kinds of emotions filled his heart. Anger, humiliation, regret, with the reincarnation spear in hand, Ting Qingshan walked towards the sacred palace step by step. "Stop right there," someone shouted. Ting Qingshan glanced at the young man in front of him and couldn't help but grin. "Little guy, don't try to be a hero here. This is not the time to be a hero." With this, Ting Qingshan ignored the young man and continued walking towards him. At the same time, the powerful power of the heavens and earth surrounded his body. With a bang sound, the young man was thrown away and fell not far away. "Senior Marshal Brother! Junior Marshal Brother!" Immediately, many people rushed over and helped the young man up. Ting Qingshan didn't even look at the young man and continued walking towards the sacred palace. Only 50 zhang was left. 40 zhang, 30 zhang, 20 zhang. The distance between Ting Qingshan and Ting Qingshan was shrinking. The eyes of the elite disciples were burning with anger. "Where's the trump card? Where's the trump card of Emperor Yu's hall?" The closer Ting Qingshan got, the more nervous he became. He was ready to attack at any moment. 15 zhang, 10 zhang, 9 zhang, 8 zhang. The door of the sacred palace was already in front of him. Ting Qingshan had already stepped onto the stairs, and a smile had already appeared on his face. Suddenly, "Young man, stop!" A deep and resounding voice echoed in the surroundings. Ting Qingshan was shocked. This voice definitely didn't belong to Huang Tianqin, Lu Xia, or Yu Feng. However, this technique was obviously using the sound transmission technique. At the very least, an emptiness realm expert could do this. "You should be." Ting Qingshan looked around and said, "You should be the reason why Emperor Yu's hall has existed for 6,000 years and has never fallen." However, Ting Qingshan didn't notice that the moment the deep and resounding voice sounded, Huang Tianqin, who had his eyes closed and appeared to be in pain, suddenly trembled. "The reason why Emperor Yu's hall has never fallen?" The deep and resounding voice continued, "You can say that." Ting Qingshan's facial expression changed. He turned to look at Huang Tianqin. In the domain, Huang Tianqin's aura had actually changed. The colorful and vigorous aura from before gradually became obscure, rapidly developing into a black hole. "Honorable One." Suddenly, a voice sounded. "You don't have to do anything." Huang Tianqin, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Ting Qingshan. "Congratulations, Marshal Uncle. You have finally succeeded." Lu Xia, who was at the side, said happily. "Congratulations, Elder Huang," Yu Feng said excitedly. Huang Tianqin was the leader of this generation of Emperor Yu's hall because Huang Tianqin had the best aptitude. At that time, he had also reached the Void Mastery stage much earlier than Yu Tonghai and Lu Xia. After he reached the emptiness realm culmination, Huang Tianqin had been cultivating diligently. He had often gained enlightenment and improved continuously. However, he had never been able to reach the insightful emptiness realm. Unexpectedly this time, the mental pressure and the relief he felt after the Honorable One spoke had actually allowed him to pass the final stage. He had finally broken through the barrier of the emptiness realm culmination and reached the insightful emptiness realm. Insightful emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan observed Huang Tianqin. At this moment, Huang Tianqin no longer had the aura of an emptiness realm expert. Instead, he had the aura of a black hole, just like Pei San and Qin Shiqi. However, in comparison, the black hole formed by Huang Tianqin's aura was much stronger. Obviously, he was much smaller than Qin Shiqi and Pei San. I didn't expect this. Ting Qingshan looked at Huang Tianqin and smiled. I didn't expect you to break through the emptiness realm culmination and reach the insightful emptiness realm at this time. I'm impressed. I have to thank you too. Huang Tianqin looked at Ting Qingshan. Thank me? Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Huang Tianqin. Actually, I've always been curious about the strength of the insightful emptiness realm. As far as I know, when you first stepped into the insightful emptiness realm, you were able to use your full strength. There was no time to strengthen his body. In other words, you are much weaker than Pei San and the others. Secondly, you can only be considered to have just stepped into the insightful emptiness realm. Even if I've just stepped into it, even if my body hasn't become stronger, I can still defeat you. Huang Tianqin's eyes shone brightly as he held the purplish-black blade in his hand. On the other hand, Ting Qingshan was filled with the desire to fight. The blood in his body was boiling. When he defeated Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia, he didn't even use his most powerful technique, the 5-elemental toxic dragon drill. He has just reached the insightful emptiness realm. Moreover, the insightful emptiness realm experts are suppressed by the land of the 9 prefectures. Moreover, his body hasn't been strengthened yet. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, as for me, I should be the strongest emptiness realm culmination expert in history. My body has become as strong as the insightful emptiness realm expert. Plus, I have the Hong Tian godly armor. I am strong enough to fight him. Even Pei San. When Ting Qingshan's palm hit Yu Shijin, the emptiness realm expert of Hong Tian City, Yu Shijin endured for a long time before he died. I have the Hong Tian godly armor, so my body is much stronger than Yu Shijin's. Even if Pei San hit me, he wouldn't be able to kill me. Not to mention Huang Tianqin. This is a rare opportunity. A chance to fight with an insightful emptiness realm expert. I will fight with the weakest insightful emptiness realm expert. First, I will feel what the insightful emptiness realm is. Perhaps it will be helpful for me to reach the insightful emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan's eyes shone brightly with the desire to fight. In the distance, Lu Xia and Yu Feng stared at each other blankly. An emptiness realm culmination expert actually dared to challenge an insightful emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan, I will show you that even if you have just reached the insightful emptiness realm, you can still defeat any emptiness realm culmination expert. Huang Tianqin gathered his strength and glared at Ting Qingshan. Haha, show me all the techniques you have. Ting Qingshan held his long spear horizontally and pointed the tip of the spear at Huang Tianqin. The strongest emptiness realm culmination expert and the weakest insightful emptiness realm expert. Who was stronger and who was weaker? This is the end of the 3rd chapter. There is still the 4th chapter. Brothers, the monthly votes are coming. The more monthly votes we have, the more powerful Ting Qingshan will be. Chapter 563. All of you, retreat further away. The emptiness realm expert Yu Feng hastily ordered the elite disciples of Emperor Yu's hall. This group of elite disciples was puzzled as to why their grandmaster was still fighting after being defeated previously. However, he still quickly retreated into the distance. To them, it didn't matter if it was a battle between emptiness realm experts or a battle between emptiness realm experts and insightful emptiness realm experts. The shockwave wasn't something that these elite disciples, who were only at the post-liminary realm, could withstand. In front of the sacred palace, Ting Qingshan and Huang Tianqin were ready to fight. One of them had reached emptiness realm culmination, while the other had just attained insightful emptiness realm. The 2 emptiness realm experts, Yu Feng and Lu Xia, stood on the steps of the sacred palace to prevent the shockwaves from the battle from damaging the sacred palace. An emptiness realm culmination expert actually dares to fight against an insightful emptiness realm expert? He really doesn't know what's good for him. Lu Xia was extremely confident in his martial uncle. Let's see how Ting Qingshan embarrasses himself. Yu Feng was very relaxed. Common sense told everyone that, in a battle between insightful emptiness realm experts and emptiness realm experts, insightful emptiness realm experts would definitely win. Humph! Suddenly, Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened and his aura exploded. His entire body instantly became blurry, leaving only an afterimage that gradually dissipated. Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear in his hand and dashed towards the insightful emptiness realm expert Huang Tianqin with a courageous and ferocious aura. Immediately, Ting Qingshan thrust the spear. The spear thrust forward, as if a vortex had appeared out of thin air. You overestimate yourself. Huang Tianqin smiled and waved the thick-backed purple-black saber in his hand confidently. For a moment, the saber drew a mysterious arc and instantly chopped at Ting Qingshan's spear. At the same time, the saber's momentum changed slightly, trying to cut off Ting Qingshan's left hand that was holding the spear. It's indeed different. Ting Qingshan's eyes lit up and he quickly retreated. At the same time, he immediately changed the pursuing shadow into the transmutation unity law. It was as if a huge millstone had appeared out of thin air, as heavy as the earth. Clang! Huang Tianqin's blade was blocked. Ting Qingshan had already retreated several hundred feet away, but Huang Tianqin had not taken a single step back. The difference in strength was obvious. All right. Awesome. Yu Feng and Lu Xia, who were watching from the side, revealed looks of joy. Ting Qingshan is too arrogant. It's time to let him know that there's always someone better out there. Lu Xia sneered at Ting Qingshan. After Ting Qingshan retreated, he laughed out loud and said, "Great blade technique. As expected of an insightful emptiness realm expert. Your spear technique is also not bad." Huang Tianqin smiled indifferently, "But today you will lose without a doubt." As he spoke, Huang Tianqin's entire body flashed, and he rushed towards Ting Qingshan. Moreover, compared to before, Huang Tianqin's movement technique was much more mysterious. Boom! Ting Qingshan charged forward again. Bang! 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 Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Ting Qingshan was pushed back again and again. However, every time he was pushed back, he would rush forward and fight with the insightful emptiness realm expert, Huang Tianqin. Everyone could see that Ting Qingshan was obviously at a disadvantage. I have just reached the insightful emptiness realm, and my body has not become stronger. Strength. Compared to when I reached the emptiness realm culmination. It's only 10% stronger. What a pity. If I had 1 or 2 years to strengthen my body completely, the strength of my body would be equivalent to 10% of the power of the heavens and the earth. By then, I would be able to ignore the rebounding force and attack crazily. I might even be able to kill Ting Qingshan. Now, I can only defeat him. But I can't kill him. Huang Tianqin sighed to himself. Indeed, the strength of an insightful emptiness realm expert increased step by step. From the emptiness realm culmination to the insightful emptiness realm. The improvement was not much. However, even if it was not much, with the strengthening of his body, he could still kill an emptiness realm culmination expert. Rumble, a great amount of strength shot out in all directions, and Ting Qingshan was pushed back again. Ting Qingshan, admit defeat. Huang Tianqin's voice reverberated in the forest. Ting Qingshan, at this stage, why don't you admit defeat? Are you still not going to admit defeat? Lu Xia shouted from afar. Huang Tianqin suddenly realized that Ting Qingshan, who had been ravaged by him time and time again, actually had a smile on his face. So that's how it is. That's how it is. Ting Qingshan was overjoyed. Breaking through from the emptiness realm culmination to the insightful emptiness realm. So that's how it is. Complete perfection and balance. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. It's like a circle from the beginning to the end, and then to the beginning again. Complete perfection and gentleness. Ting Qingshan was not a masochist. He went up again and again to fight with Huang Tianqin. He wanted to feel the uniqueness of an insightful emptiness realm expert. Luck. How lucky! My biggest gain from coming to Emperor Yu's hall this time is to fight with Huang Tianqin. I was able to fight with Huang Tianqin. Ting Qingshan was extremely excited. Huang Tianqin has just reached the insightful emptiness realm. His realm is only slightly higher than mine. That's why I'm able to sense his realm by exchanging blows with him time and time again. If his cultivation level is much higher than mine, I won't be able to understand it. Ting Qingshan understood this point. It was like a child who had just learned how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Of course, it was easy to teach him 10, 1, 12, 13. However, if he was suddenly taught extremely complicated calculations, he wouldn't be able to understand. If Pei San fought with Ting Qingshan, even if Pei San didn't injure Ting Qingshan wouldn't be able to understand the realm of Pei San's moves. However, Huang Tianqin had just reached the insightful emptiness realm, and his cultivation level was just slightly higher than Ting Qingshan's. Ting Qingshan tried to understand it carefully, and he could figure it out. Haha, again. Are you afraid? Ting Qingshan laughed loudly and dashed forward again with his reincarnation spear in his hand. Madman! Huang Tianqin cursed in his heart. He tried his best to use his most powerful saber art to defeat Ting Qingshan. However, he didn't expect Ting Qingshan to become even more excited. This is the insightful emptiness realm. When I go back, I must go into seclusion. I believe that I am not far from the insightful emptiness realm. I am not far from the insightful emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan was extremely excited. He was indeed not far from the insightful emptiness realm. It was already amazing that he could demonstrate the 5 elemental Daos with his fist art. Then, he developed the 5 elemental toxic dragon drill. Ting Qingshan was actually only one step away from the insightful emptiness realm. However, he was still confused and didn't know how to break through. Now, Huang Tianqin pointed Ting Qingshan in the right direction and told Ting Qingshan to go in this direction. Once you take this step, you will be in the insightful emptiness realm. How could Ting Qingshan not be excited? Go into seclusion. I will definitely go into seclusion when I go back. Ting Qingshan wanted to go into seclusion and start cultivating. Huang Tianqin's face darkened. He was starting to get angry. He had never seen such a shameless emptiness realm expert. The situation was clear. Huang Tianqin was suppressing Ting Qingshan, but because Ting Qingshan could resist the force of the recoil, he was pushed back again and again. This made it so that no matter how hard Huang Tianqin fought, he couldn't kill Ting Qingshan. It was a waste of time to continue fighting like this. Ting Qingshan, you are no match for me. Why are you pestering me? Huang Tianqin shouted angrily. Haha, Ting Qingshan laughed loudly. Huang Tianqin, I am no match for you? Then try taking another spear strike from me. As soon as he finished speaking, Ting Qingshan focused all his attention on the reincarnation spear. Huang Tianqin's facial expression changed slightly. For a moment, the surroundings seemed to have turned into a roaring ocean. Only the long spear remained in the center of the ocean. This long spear carried the boundless power of the ocean and pierced towards Huang Tianqin with a terrifying aura that could tear the heavens and the earth apart. Humph! Huang Tianqin humphed angrily and held his saber with both hands. The saber and the spear clashed. Bang! A deep sound that sounded like the beating of a drum rang out. Huang Tianqin's entire body was blasted flying, and then he smashed against a damaged palace behind him. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Rumble! The palace collapsed with a bang, and for a time, dust filled the air. Bang! Ting Qingshan was also sent flying and crashed into a nearby mountain rock, causing it to explode. However, Ting Qingshan stood up as if nothing had happened. In the Blind Bear Mountain range, the people of Emperor Yu's hall, who had been laughing confidently, felt as if someone was strangling them. Their eyes widened and they couldn't say a word. Ting Qingshan and Huang Tianqin were both sent flying? However, Huang Tianqin vomited blood. Ting Qingshan stood up as if nothing had happened. Impossible! An angry roar rang out. Huang Tianqin stood up from the ruins of the palace and glared at Ting Qingshan. What happened just now? Ting Qingshan, tell me what happened. You are just an emptiness realm culmination expert. It is impossible for you to defeat me. Absolutely impossible. Huang Tianqin couldn't believe that such a thing had happened. The truth is right in front of you, and you still don't believe it? Why? Do you want to do it again? Ting Qingshan sneered as he stared at Huang Tianqin. No, it shouldn't have happened. Huang Tianqin shook his head continuously. He had just attained the insightful emptiness realm, and he hadn't strengthened his body yet. Therefore, he could only unleash 130% of the power of the heavens and the earth. The 5-elemental toxic dragon drill also unleashed 130% of the power of the heavens and the earth. As for the recoil, it was obvious that Ting Qingshan could withstand it easily. Huang Tianqin was injured by the recoil. Humph! Ting Qingshan glanced at Lu Xia and Yu Feng, who were also in disbelief. He then looked at the sacred palace and said, "This time, I came to Emperor Yu's hall to find out how to take the last step and enter the insightful emptiness realm. This is a great gain. However, I have to find out who this honorable one is." "Little Blue," Ting Qingshan shouted. Whoosh! The undying phoenix, Little Blue, swooped down from the sky and landed beside Ting Qingshan. A smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face. Even if this honorable one was really powerful, he could just use the undying phoenix, Little Blue, to escape. "Just now, Huang Tianqin called you Honorable One. I wonder if you will show yourself, Honorable One?" Ting Qingshan looked at the sacred palace and laughed. "Otherwise, I will destroy this sacred palace. I think, the three of them can't stop me now." Ting Qingshan glanced at Huang Tianqin and the other two. Huang Tianqin was so angry that his body was trembling. As long as he was given some time, he would be able to defeat Ting Qingshan just by strengthening his body, even if he didn't improve his realm. "Young man, it seems like you really want to see me." A deep voice reverberated throughout the forest. "Then enter the sacred hall." Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and flew into the sacred palace with the undying phoenix. "Brothers, where are the monthly tickets? Recommendation vote." Tomato liked it very much too. When would Ting Qingshan enter the insightful emptiness realm? The more recommendation votes and monthly votes he had, the faster Ting Qingshan would step into the insightful emptiness realm. There were monthly votes to smash monthly votes, and there were recommendation votes to smash recommendation vote. Tomato needs the support of every brother. It was the 4th watch today. A little less. Continue to work hard tomorrow. Don't forget to vote. Chapter 564. Currently, the palaces in the Blind Bear Mountain Range were in a complete mess. During the battle between Ting Qingshan and Huang Tianqin, many palaces had been damaged. Huang Tianqin, Yu Feng, and Lu Xia looked around. "All protectors, lead the disciples to look at the palaces and see if there is any damage." Yu Feng stood on the stairs of the sacred palace and ordered. Immediately, over 10 middle-aged men and elders bowed in response. Following which, he led the panicking elite disciples to disperse one by one. "Let's go in." Huang Tianqin sighed. "I really don't know where this freak came from." Lu Xia shook his head and said hatefully. Yufeng didn't utter a word and followed Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia into the sacred palace. Inside the sacred palace, Ting Qingshan and Little Blue were in the center of the sacred palace. They looked around, but they didn't see the Honorable One. Honorable One, why don't you show yourself? Ting Qingshan said loudly. Thump, thump, thump. At this moment, the 3 supreme elders of Emperor Yu's hall stepped onto the stairs and entered the sacred palace. At the same time, Yufeng personally closed the doors of the sacred palace. Ka, the tall bronze doors closed with a rumble. The entire sacred palace was instantly plunged into darkness. Ting Qingshan wants to see the Honorable One. There is no need to rush, Lu Xia said indifferently. He walked to the side of the sacred palace and lit up the 2 lamps on the left and right. For a moment, in the gloomy hall, only the light from these 2 lamps shone, flickering between bright and dark. So mysterious? Ting Qingshan grinned and scanned the surroundings. Huang Tianqin, Yufeng, and Lu Xia stood at the side obediently. The undying phoenix, Little Blue, who was beside Ting Qingshan, also flapped its wings impatiently. The flames that had already been restrained soared out again. For a moment, the light was even brighter than the 2 lamps. Where is the Honorable One? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. Ting Qingshan could clearly sense an extremely heavy, dark presence suddenly approach him from the back of the mountain. The presence had basically entered through the window on the 7th floor in an instant, before falling straight down and landing in the hall. Ting Qingshan had long sensed this dark and vigorous aura. Something's not right. This aura and the wind-splitting dragon falcon's aura. They were all extremely powerful. It should be the aura of an emptiness realm demonic beast. Ting Qingshan focused and thought to himself, how can it be a supremacy? In the dim hall, a tall, blurry figure was standing there. His entire body was covered in dark golden armor, and he was especially eye-catching in the dark hall. It was just that he was astonishingly tall, at least 20 feet, 5 meters, tall. He wore a sinister dark gold helmet and a mask that completely covered his face, not even revealing his eyes. Greetings, Venerable One. Huang Tianqin, Yufeng, and Lu Xia said respectfully. What a big fist! Ting Qingshan's gaze fell upon the hands of the tall giant. The giant was 20 zhang tall, but the ratio of his fists was even more shocking. They were like 2 huge rocks. The giant's fists were covered with a huge dark golden glove, and there was a row of ferocious spikes on the glove. Ting Qingshan believed that if he punched this fist, a hole would be smashed through a small mountain. Young man, didn't you want to see me? Why aren't you talking? You are the supremacy? Ting Qingshan stared at the strange person who was completely covered in armor. Not even his face could be seen. At first glance, he looked like a monster mecha from a sci-fi movie in his previous life. What puzzled Ting Qingshan the most was that although Huang Tianqin was at the insightful emptiness realm, the aura of the supremacy before him was obviously at the emptiness realm. When Huang Tianqin saw the supremacy, he greeted respectfully, Greetings, Venerable One. This was indeed strange. If I am not the supremacy, who is? The deep voice sounded again. Can the supremacy remove the helmet and mask? Ting Qingshan asked. Yes. The supremacy's voice sounded. He used his huge right hand, which was covered with a huge glove, to grab the helmet. He easily removed the helmet and revealed his face. The supremacy stared at Ting Qingshan and revealed his white teeth. Impossible! How could you be? Ting Qingshan was completely stunned. The supremacy in front of him, after removing his helmet, revealed a huge bear head. Yes, it was a bear. This huge bear head had a pair of small eyes that glowed with a golden light. No wonder his hands are so big and his arms and legs are so thick. Previously, Ting Qingshan felt that the proportions of the supremacy's body didn't seem right. It didn't seem like the proportions of a human body. Now that he saw the huge bear head, he completely understood. This was a bear-type demonic beast that had reached the emptiness realm culmination. Are you surprised? The deep voice sounded again, but the supremacy didn't even open his mouth. You. How can you speak? Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, Demonic beasts can't speak. Why not? Huang Tianqin, who was at the side, sneered. Ting Qingshan, you are ignorant. Let me ask you. How can an emptiness realm expert transmit sound and hear voices from 20 to 30 li away? Ting Qingshan was struck by a thought. Transmitting sound was to simulate the vibrations caused by one's words into the ears of the other party. Then, the person would naturally say the same thing. This was also the principle of listening to the voice from 20 to 30 li away. By simulating the vibrations caused by someone speaking from 20 to 30 li away, the person would naturally hear the voice. An emptiness realm expert can easily control the vibrations of various sounds. Huang Tianqin smiled calmly and said, by relying on the subtle control of sound. Therefore, any human emptiness realm expert who wants to learn the language of beasts, with a little more time and effort, they will be able to learn the language of beasts. Ting Qingshan nodded. He understood this principle. Emptiness realm demonic beasts only need someone to teach them the human words and tell them the language of beasts. This way, they will be able to understand the human words. Huang Tianqin said, although there are very few human experts who are willing to spend more time teaching demonic beasts, it is completely possible. However, this is completely possible. Ting Qingshan froze. Yes, the intelligence of an emptiness realm demonic beast is no less than that of a human. For example, Li Jun could teach a demonic beast and let it understand the human words. Huang Tianqin, understanding is one thing. However, demonic beasts are unable to make human sounds. Ting Qingshan said. This was the limitation of the vocal cords. A human's vocal cords could make many kinds of sounds, but the vocal cords of demonic beasts were extremely limited. They were unable to make complex sounds like humans. I can't say it, but emptiness realm demonic beasts can control the vibrations of sound and produce sounds. Huang Tianqin said. This, Ting Qingshan's heart was in turmoil. He looked at the tall and big honorable bear in disbelief. Sound could be produced by controlling the vibrations of the air. Of course, Ting Qingshan understood. However, the human emptiness realm expert could control the vibrations of the air to transmit sound. That was just copying. It was just copying the vibrations caused by one's speech. Hearing sounds from 20 to 30 li away was also the process of copying the vibrations. The vibrations of the sound in the air were very complicated. Copying was easy. However, one had to remember the vibrations of the sound of each word and form a sentence. Controlling the vibrations of the sound to produce sentences like the Honorable Bear without speaking was too difficult. Young man, I know what you are surprised about. The tall and big Honorable Bear lowered his head slightly and looked down at Ting Qingshan with a smile. Indeed. Just by controlling the vibrations of the air and speaking sentences, compared to learning the language of beasts, learning human words, it is hundreds or thousands of times more difficult. In the past, you the Great and I spent 10 years to learn the human language. However, it took me more than 1,000 years to learn how to speak. Only then was I able to do it. Over 1,000 years? Ting Qingshan took a deep breath and looked at the Honorable Bear with admiration. With someone teaching, an emptiness realm demonic beast could learn the human language in 10 years. However, the Honorable Bear spent over 1,000 years to produce all the words through vibrations of sound. This showed how difficult it was. In the dark great hall, Ting Qingshan and the huge Honorable Bear faced each other. It should be the child of that phoenix. The Honorable Bear glanced at the undying phoenix, Little Blue, and said, I still remember when I fought with that phoenix. In the blink of an eye, thousands of years have passed. Honorable Bear, you and Emperor Yu, Ting Qingshan widened his eyes and exclaimed. He suddenly remembered the records of Emperor Yu that he had read in the book. In the historical records, during Emperor Yu's flood control, the most famous thing was that an emptiness realm black bear helped Emperor Yu cut open the mountains. There was even a legend among the people that said Emperor Yu transformed into a black bear and cut open the mountains. Could it be that this honorable bear is the emptiness realm bear? Ting Qingshan was secretly shocked. At the side, Huang Tianqin said confidently, "Yes. Back then, when the martial ancestor of Emperor Yu's hall controlled the rivers of the world, there were all kinds of mountains in the world. At that time, the martial ancestor used the splitting mountain axe to cut open the mountains. It was the honorable bear who broke open the mountains for the martial ancestor. In the entire world, among the emptiness realm demonic beasts, no one is stronger than the honorable bear." Ting Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. "No," the honorable bear smiled and shook his head. "That fire phoenix was slightly weaker than me. However, she hadn't reached her limit at that time. With her talent, her limits are limitless. Plus, if she ran, I wouldn't be able to catch up." Ting Qingshan could tell that Little Blue's mother had been defeated by the honorable bear. It was no wonder that Little Blue's mother was afraid of the land of the 9 prefectures. However, the strength of Little Blue's mother in the past and the current Little Blue's mother were different. For example, the demonic dragon in the Great Yen Mountain. The reason why I was able to suppress it was because you the Great forged this armor for me. The honorable bear clenched his fist slightly. Ting Qingshan even felt as if the air was about to shatter. Immediately, the honorable bear looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and said, "I know your name. Ting Qingshan. You are the young man who opened the heavenly flood palace, right?" "Yes." Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. "I believe that the honorable bear also knows why I am here." Ting Qingshan didn't beat around the bush. The honorable bear swept a glance at Huang Tianqin and the other two and asked, "Tell me, what happened?" Chapter 1. Chapter 565. Huang Tianqin cupped his hands and said, "Honorable One, Ting Qingshan said that Emperor Yu's hall sent men to rob and kill the men of the Xing-Yi sect. This was complete nonsense. He even said that Emperor Yu's hall stole the cultivation technique of the Xing-Yi sect. Emperor Yu's hall spent a lot of money to buy that cultivation technique." Ting Qingshan was so angry that his face turned ugly. He shouted coldly, "Huang Tianqin, are you shameless?" Huang Tianqin was enraged by Ting Qingshan's words. Among the men who robbed the Xing-Yi sect, weren't Guo Jiexiu and Gan Zitao from Emperor Yu's hall? Also, the cultivation technique of the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist is unique to the Xing-Yi sect. I, Ting Qingshan, created it myself. My cultivation technique is now in your hands. You said you spent a lot of money to buy it? I created my own cultivation technique. How can you let the men of Emperor Yu's hall cultivate it? Ting Qingshan shouted angrily. Huang Tianqin, Yu Feng, and Lu Xia were all angry. What was this place? The sacred palace. Even the honorable bear was here. In the eyes of Huang Tianqin and the other two, with the honorable bear here, Emperor Yu's hall was obviously superior. Ting Qingshan should know the rules. Ting Qingshan, you don't know when to stop. Lu Xia scolded. Honorable bear. Ting Qingshan turned to look at the huge honorable bear and said, "Honorable bear, I think you already understand the situation. Tell me, how do you plan to solve this?" Indeed, the honorable bear was very powerful. Ting Qingshan could feel it. Just the vigorous aura that was comparable to the demonic dragon Violet Rain showed how powerful the honorable bear was. During the era of Emperor Yu, the honorable bear could easily split mountains. This showed how powerful he was. However, so what if he was powerful? The honorable bear was not a bird-type demonic beast. In terms of flying, he could not surpass the undying phoenix, Little Blue. Ting Qingshan was betting that the honorable bear, who had protected Emperor Yu's hall for 6,000 years, wouldn't be unreasonable. Furthermore, the moment the Venerable Bear and Ting Qingshan fell out, it was very likely that he would suffer the crazed vengeance of Ting Qingshan. This was something that the Venerable Bear naturally had to consider. I understand. A deep voice rang out. Venerable Bear still had a very calm and indifferent look on his face. He looked at Huang Tianqin and the other two. I don't care how you obtained this secret manual. As long as this Ting Qingshan didn't give it to you willingly, you won't regret it. Then you have to let your disciples cultivate the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist. That was wrong. Think about how to compensate Ting Qingshan. Venerable One. Huang Tianqin and the others were taken aback. In their eyes, the Honorable One was on the side of Emperor Yu's hall. Logically speaking, the Honorable One should protect them. Humph, you didn't hear me? The Venerable Bear's little bear eyes flashed with a cold light. Yes. The three didn't dare to disobey. In Emperor Yu's hall, all the Emptiness Realm experts knew that the disciples of Emperor Yu's hall had to obey the orders of the Honorable One. However, because Emperor Yu's hall rarely encountered great dangers, the number of times the Honorable Bear acted could be counted on one hand. Huang Tianqin and the other two didn't really understand the Honorable Bear's way of doing things. Ting Qingshan, since the Honorable One wants us to compensate, tell us, how should we compensate you to your satisfaction? Huang Tianqin stared at Ting Qingshan and said coldly, how should we compensate? What do you think? Tell me. Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and smiled. In this negotiation, his capital was, with the speed of the undying phoenix, he could completely bypass the Honorable Bear and cause immeasurable damage to Emperor Yu's hall. Therefore, he could straighten his back and negotiate. Moreover, this was the first time the secret manual was leaked. He definitely couldn't be careless and cowardly. Otherwise, the Xing-Yi sect would definitely continue to decline in the future. Emperor Yu's hall will return the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist, secret manual we bought to the Xing-Yi sect. We will also order that no one in Emperor Yu's hall is allowed to cultivate the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist. At the same time, Emperor Yu's hall will offer 1,000,000 taels of gold, Huang Tianqin said in one breath. He then stared at Ting Qingshan and said, Ting Qingshan, what do you think? Return the secret manual, forbid anyone from cultivating it, and offer 1,000,000 taels of gold? Humph! Ting Qingshan sneered and said, Huang Tianqin, do you think I'm a fool? Huang Tianqin's facial expression changed. Yu Feng, who was at the side, shouted, Ting Qingshan, Emperor Yu's hall has already offered compensation. What? Are you not satisfied? Return the secret manual? Ting Qingshan sneered and said, many people in Emperor Yu's hall have started cultivating this secret manual. How could your sect not have recorded a few copies of the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist secret manual? Even if you didn't record it, those cultivators could easily reproduce the secret manuals. So, with so many cultivators, as long as they don't all die, there's no way to return the secret manual. You want all those cultivators to die? Yu Feng was slightly shocked. I'm not that cruel. Ting Qingshan glanced at the three and said, those internal martial art cultivators are innocent. Moreover, even if they die, doesn't Emperor Yu's hall have a copy of the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist? No one can prove it. So, return the secret manual. I don't believe it at all. As for forbidding the disciples from cultivating it, haha, Emperor Yu's hall has unified the entire Yuzhou. Some disciples are hiding in some secret places to cultivate. How would I know? So, this is also nonsense. Ting Qingshan sneered and said, as for the 1,000,000 taels of gold, you three are not fools. You should know that money is nothing to a sect. Sects were the most powerful forces that stood high above the masses. Why would they care about money? So, return the secret manual and forbid the disciples from cultivating it, and offer 1,000,000 taels of gold. What a joke! Ting Qingshan glanced at the three and said, Do you think I, Ting Qingshan, am a fool? Huang Tianqin's expression turned ugly. His suggestions were indeed meant to fool Ting Qingshan. As long as Ting Qingshan didn't pay attention, he would be fooled. Once the agreement was made, there was no way to go back on it. Young man, tell them what you want them to do. The descendants of Emperor Yu's hall are getting worse with each generation. The Honorable Bear sighed. When Huang Tianqin and the other two heard the comment of getting worse with each generation, they felt even more ashamed and angry. Ting Qingshan, tell us. Huang Tianqin gritted his teeth and stared at Ting Qingshan. I think Emperor Yu's hall knows the importance of the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist. Ting Qingshan said solemnly, as compensation, I want Emperor Yu's hall to offer me 3 heaven-class secret codices. 2. Forbid the disciples from cultivating the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist. If the Xingyi sect finds out, you have to compensate with 100,000 taels of gold. You are asking for too much. Huang Tianqin couldn't help but shout. 3 heaven-class secret codices. Yu Feng and Lu Xia were so angry that their eyes turned red. Ting Qingshan's 2 conditions were very cruel. The second condition was forbidding the disciples from cultivating the cannon fist. However, sometimes the disciples would still practice it secretly. If they were found out, they would have to compensate with 100,000 taels of gold. 10 times would be 1,000,000 taels of gold. It was too scary. Of course, this condition was just a joke. Ting Qingshan took advantage of Ting Qingshan. After all, even if they were caught practicing the cannon fist on the spot, Emperor Yu's hall could still shake their heads and deny it. Of these 2 conditions, the first one was the most powerful. 3 heaven-class secret codices. To a sect, heaven-class secret codices were extremely important. Take the Mani Temple for example. In the Mani Temple, there were more people cultivating the heaven-level secret codex, Maha, than the Golden Buddha. Heaven-class secret codices were more comprehensive and less difficult. Moreover, they could allow the cultivators to reach the emptiness realm. 3 is too much. The Honorable Bear frowned and said in a deep voice. Honorable Bear, Huang Tianqin and the other 2 couldn't help but look at the Honorable Bear. The Honorable Bear obviously agreed to give them heaven-class secret codices. For the Honorable Bear's sake, how about this? 2 heaven-class secret codices. Ting Qingshan said solemnly, I think you know the importance of the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist to the cultivators of the internal martial art. It's not much to take 2 heaven-class secret codices from you. Moreover, the Emperor Yu's hall should have many heaven-class secret codices after so many years. Huang Tianqin and the other 2 exchanged glances and then looked at the Honorable Bear. The Honorable Bear nodded slightly. All right. Huang Tianqin gritted his teeth and said, 2 heaven-class secret codices. Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded. In the Xingyi sect, there were many cultivators of the internal martial art. However, only a few of them reached the Grandmaster realm. Therefore, many cultivators of the internal martial art couldn't reach the Grandmaster realm. They would switch to cultivating Taoist secret codices. The only secret codices in the Xingyi sect were the ones that Ting Qingshan had brought from the Duanmu continent. They were the many secret codices in the treasure house of the Tianfeng clan. There were many secret codices. However, there was only one secret codice that could allow one to cultivate to the emptiness realm. Moreover, it wasn't perfect. After all, there were only a few people in the Tianfeng clan who had reached the martial immortal, emptiness realm. Let alone emptiness realm culmination. What the Xingyi sect lacked the most was heaven-class secret codices. Besides the heaven-class secret codices, there is one more thing I want to ask the Emperor Yu's hall, Ting Qingshan said. Ting Qingshan, don't be greedy. Huang Tianqin's face was cold. I want to know where is the person who gave you the secret codices of the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist of the Emperor Yu's hall. Ting Qingshan said solemnly. We don't know much about this matter. However, the protector who bought the secret codices should know. Huang Tianqin's expression relaxed as he said calmly, "Let's go. Since you want the heaven-class secret codices and you want to find someone, then come with me to Royal City." With this, Huang Tianqin cupped his hands at the Honorable Bear. Then, he opened the door of the sacred hall and flew out of the sacred hall. "Honorable One, farewell." Ting Qingshan bowed and said, "I won't see you out." The Honorable Bear's voice rang. Ting Qingshan was very kind to the Honorable Bear. From the beginning to the end, the Honorable Bear didn't use force to suppress Ting Qingshan. Instead, he impartially asked Emperor Yu's Hall to compensate Ting Qingshan. This made Ting Qingshan have a good impression of the Honorable Bear. In addition, the Honorable Bear spent 1,000 years to learn how to speak through vibrations in the air. This made Ting Qingshan admire the Honorable Bear very much. Ting Qingshan and the Undying Phoenix, Little Blue, left the Great Hall. Yu Feng and Lu Xia followed closely behind. In the spacious Great Hall, only the blurry figure of the Honorable Bear was left. The successor of Emperor Yu's Hall is indeed too arrogant. However, what does this have to do with me? Back then, Yu the Great told me to protect the inheritance of Emperor Yu's Hall. This Ting Qingshan reached the emptiness realm at the age of 21. He created the branch of internal martial art and even defeated Huang Tianqin, who had just reached the insightful emptiness realm. This talent is unbelievable. According to what Yu the Great said, since we can't destroy him, we can't offend this kind of person. Otherwise, when he becomes an omnipotent expert, it will be a disaster for Emperor Yu's Hall. Give him 2 heaven-class secret codices and befriend him. Back then, he entered the Heavenly Flood Palace and received benefits from Yu the Great. Even if he becomes an omnipotent expert, he will give Emperor Yu face. Leave Emperor Yu's Hall. The figure of the Honorable Bear disappeared from the Great Hall. This is the 2nd chapter. Continue writing the 3rd chapter. Do you have tickets? Monthly tickets, recommendation tickets. Chapter 566. In the center of Imperial Yu City, inside Emperor Yu's Hall. I will take my leave now. Ting Qingshan's expression darkened. He glanced at Huang Tianqin and the other 2 and said, "Don't forget our agreement. If the Xing-Yi sect finds out that someone from Emperor Yu's Hall cultivates the 9th Emperor Cannon Fist, it will be bad." After saying this, Ting Qingshan and the Undying Phoenix, Little Blue, transformed into a beam of light and disappeared into the southeast horizon. Huang Tianqin, Yu Feng, and Lu Xia, the 3 supreme elders, looked at the horizon. What happened? Why did the Honorable One help Ting Qingshan this time? After Ting Qingshan left, Lu Xia couldn't help but frown. Yes, it is a little strange. Huang Tianqin was puzzled. I thought the Honorable One would help us. However, the Honorable One actually asked us to agree to Ting Qingshan's conditions. That's right. The legends about the Honorable One are all recorded in book. I have only conversed with the Honorable One occasionally. I don't know anything about the Honorable One's personality. After all, since the founding of Emperor Yu's Hall, the Honorable Bear had only fought a few times. 2 elders, in my opinion. Yu Feng frowned and said, "The Honorable Bear was ordered by martial ancestor Emperor Yu to protect the inheritance of Emperor Yu's Hall. He didn't want Emperor Yu's Hall to become stronger. Therefore, at a time like this, the Honorable Bear would rather keep the peace. He didn't want to have a bad relationship with Ting Qingshan. Just like how he treated Heavenly Emperor Qinling, he treated him with respect. Therefore, Heavenly Emperor Qinling didn't kill Emperor Yu's Hall." Yes. Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia were suddenly enlightened. Actually, the reason was very simple. They had always thought that the Honorable Bear was the trump card of Emperor Yu's Hall. However, they forgot that the Honorable Bear was actually free. He wasn't a member of Emperor Yu's Hall. He was only entrusted by Emperor Yu. Let's not talk about this. This time, Ting Qingshan came and said that Emperor Yu's hall sent people to rob and kill the disciples of the Xing sect. Huang Tianqin frowned and said, however, Emperor Yu's hall didn't do anything about this when I asked about it just now. And I also believe that this Ting Qingshan would not fabricate such a thing. Yes, something is wrong. Lu Xia nodded. If it's not our people, then who did it? Yu Feng said with a frown. I feel like there's some kind of conspiracy going on. Huang Tianqin's expression turned solemn as he ordered, Yu Feng, pass down my order. Investigate clearly. Guojieshio and Gan Zitao. Why would he go and kill the disciples of the Xing sect? Yes. Yu Feng nodded. How dare you plot against my Emperor Yu's hall? Huang Tianqin's eyes glinted with coldness as a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Lu Xia, Yu Feng. Emperor Yu's hall will be managed by the two of you for now. I have just stepped into the insightful emptiness realm. He needed to go into seclusion and refine his body. You should also familiarize yourself with the world energy. Huang Tianqin said with a smile. This time, Ting Qingshan's visit helped me reach the insightful emptiness realm. It is a pleasant surprise. Hearing this, Lu Xia and Yu Feng smiled. Insightful emptiness realm, with one more insightful emptiness realm cultivator, the sect would be more confident. Martial uncle, after your body becomes stronger, you should stabilize your realm. It will be easy for you to defeat Ting Qingshan, Lu Xia said with a smile. When that time comes, I won't let Ting Qingshan be arrogant. Huang Tianqin sneered. After giving his orders, Huang Tianqin went into seclusion. He wanted to stabilize his realm and improve his strength. In the Xing sect at the Great Yan Mountain in Jiangning County of Yangzhou, ever since Ting Qingshan and the Undying Phoenix left for Emperor Yu's hall in the morning, the higher-ups of the Xing sect had been waiting anxiously in the East Flower Garden. After all, their sovereign, Ting Qingshan, was going to make an example out of Emperor Yu's hall. This was a big matter, and it was dangerous. Don't jinx it. The sovereign has the Undying Phoenix. He will be fine. I'm just saying. The discussion of the elders made Li Jun frown. She glanced in the direction of the elders. The substitute sovereign, Yang Dong, shouted, Go to the side and sit down. Don't be so noisy. Immediately, Yang Dong turned his head and smiled at Li Jun, Hongwu, and Honglin. Martial mother, in my opinion, teacher should be back by now. Let's have a cup of tea. Maybe he will be back by the time we finish the tea. Yes. Li Jun nodded. Father, come back quickly. Honglin bit her lips and stared in the northwest direction. Ting Qingshan was the pillar of the Xing sect. He was the pillar of the Xing sect and the entire Xing sect. How could they not be worried about him? Sister. Hongwu was about to comfort his sister. Father is back. Honglin immediately shouted and pointed in the northwest direction. Whoosh. In unison, almost everyone raised their heads to look in the direction of the northwest. They saw a fiery red flowing light streak across the sky at an astonishing speed. Then, it drew an arc and landed directly in the courtyard of the East Flower Garden. It transformed into a white-cloaked young man and a huge divine bird that was engulfed in flames. Father! Honglin was the first to jump into Ting Qingshan's arms. Everyone is here. Ting Qingshan smiled and looked around. Teacher! Ting Shou, Shui Xian, and Yang Dong bowed respectfully. Sovereign! Zhong Lu and the other elders hastily bowed as well. Ting Qingshan smiled and looked at Li Jun. At this moment, Li Jun smiled and walked over. She asked softly, Are you all right? Do I look like I'm all right? Ting Qingshan smiled. Elders and law-enforcing elders, there are many things to deal with in the sect. We need you. Go and rest first. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Qinghu, Ah Shou, Shui Xian, and Ah Dong, stay. The status in the Xing sect was based on the status of the Guiyuan sect. When one reached the Grandmaster realm or the innate realm, he would be given the status of a law-enforcing elder. Yes. The elders laughed and left. Only Ting Qinghu, Yang Dong, and the other 2 disciples stayed. Teacher, what happened this time? Yang Dong couldn't help but ask. Yes. Qingshan, tell us quickly. Qinghu couldn't help but ask. Currently, Ting Qinghu was the general of the Blood Wolf army of the Xing Yi sect. His status was extremely high. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "Do you still need to ask?" As he spoke, Ting Qingshan took out 2 secret manuals that were wrapped in wooden boxes and placed them on the stone table beside him. Take a look. What is this? Ting Shou, Yang Dong, and the others, including Ting Qingshan's son and daughter, hastily ran over and opened the wooden boxes. Heavenly Central Heart Codex? Rippling Mirror. When Li Jun and the others saw these 2 secret manuals, they were all astonished. The history of Emperor Yu's Hall was too long. The Heaven-class secret codex of Emperor Yu's Hall was naturally famous. It's a Heaven-class secret codex? Yang Dong hastily said in surprise, "That's great. With this Heaven-class secret codex, many disciples of the Xing Yi sect who switched to cultivating the Taoist sect will be able to cultivate the top-notch secret codex when they reach the innate realm. They will be able to cultivate a top-notch secret codex. This is much better than the secret codex of the Tianfeng clan." How could Emperor Yu's Hall be willing to hand over such a secret codex? Teacher, how did this come about? The few of them were extremely excited. An important advantage of the internal martial art was that one could cultivate the Taoist sect while cultivating the internal martial art. It was just like when Ting Qingshan cultivated the vigor of the reckless bull. In the Xing Yi sect, there were undoubtedly many people who cultivated 2 martial arts at the same time. There were definitely people who reached the innate realm by cultivating the Taoist sect. A Heaven-class secret codex could allow any disciple of the Xing Yi sect to obtain the best secret codex. Of course it's from Emperor Yu's Hall. Is there a need to ask? Ting Qingshan shook his head and smiled. All right, Dong. Go and make a copy of these 2 secret codices. After making a copy, he placed a copy in the martial depository hall. As for the original copy, give it to me. Yes, teacher. Yang Dong bowed and accepted the order. After this incident, the other sects in the land of the 9 prefectures will definitely know what happened. I'm afraid that not many sects would dare to steal the secret codices of the Xing Yi sect. Ting Qingshan frowned and said, however, Dong. The Xing Yi sect must be stricter in teaching the 5-element fist. We can't teach the wrong people. Yes, teacher. Yang Dong also felt the pressure on his shoulders. Ting Qingshan frowned and said, actually, when I went to Emperor Yu's Hall this time, I found something. Last time, the people who robbed and killed the men of the Xing Yi sect. I'm afraid it has nothing to do with Emperor Yu's Hall. What? Everyone present was taken aback. Father, it has nothing to do with Emperor Yu's Hall. Then, someone must be behind this, Hongwu hastily said. Yes. I also feel that it's a conspiracy. Ting Qingshan nodded. At this time, among the 3 people who were found, 2 of them were from Emperor Yu's Hall, and the other one was from Qinghu Island. Could it be Qinghu Island? This thought flashed across Ting Qingshan's mind. He frowned and thought to himself, no. It's been 17 years, and Qinghu Island hasn't done anything. Could it be that Qinghu Island, which has been shattered and injured, still dares to provoke me? You still dare to recklessly provoke me? Once the sect was destroyed, these survivors should properly rest and recuperate. After returning, Ting Qingshan gave many orders and started his closed-door cultivation. He wanted to reach the insightful emptiness realm. In the land of the 9 prefectures, many sects, including the Heavenly God Palace, received the news that Ting Qingshan had killed his way to Emperor Yu's Hall. With their intelligence network, they quickly found out a lot of information. All the sects were shocked by Ting Qingshan's madness. At the same time, Ting Qingshan didn't turn the world upside down. All the sects also guessed that Emperor Yu's hall had a powerful trump card that outsiders didn't know about. Within the borders of Yenzhou, in an ordinary small city, in a quiet mansion. Lord, this is a secret letter from Yuzhou. A man dressed in green took out a letter respectfully. A mysterious man with long hair, a loose sackcloth robe, and a golden mask took the letter. He waved his hand and said, "You may leave." Yes. The servant quickly retreated. The mysterious man wearing the golden mask walked to the stone table and sat down. Then, he opened the letter and read it. The assassination failed last time, but this time, Ting Qingshan actually returned to the Xing-Yi sect unharmed. Why is Emperor Yu's hall so useless? A sect that has existed for 6,000 years doesn't even have a single powerful expert? Let Ting Qingshan return unharmed? The mysterious man slammed the letter on the stone table angrily. The stone table trembled slightly. The entire stone table, including the secret letter, turned into gravel and powder. The powder flowed slowly on the ground of the courtyard. Under the sunlight, the reflection of the golden mask sent chills down people's hearts. This is the 3rd chapter, continue writing the 4th chapter. Chapter 567. Ever since Ting Qingshan returned to the Xing-Yi sect with the 2 heaven-class secret codices, he had been cultivating in seclusion. Each seclusion usually took about a month. Even if he came out for 3 to 5 days to deal with some matters in the Xing-Yi sect and accompany his wife and child, he would go into closed-door cultivation again. Even his wife, Li Jun, was shocked by this frequency. After all, if he didn't gain anything from his closed-door cultivation, continuing to do so wouldn't bring him any benefits. Instead, it would affect his mental state. In the East Flower Garden of the Xing-Yi sect, Li Jun was standing beside the pond, sprinkling some bait for the fishes in the pond. A school of fish were fighting to be the first to eat, and from time to time, fish would jump out of the water. "Madam, the sovereign hasn't come out of seclusion yet." Beside Li Jun was her personal maid, Qiuju. "Yes, I think it will take another half a month." Li Jun shook her head. Qiuju was also chatting with Li Jun Rumble. Not far away, the 2 doors of the training room slowly opened. This caused Li Jun to turn her head and see a person walking out of the training room. Qingshan. Li Jun ran over in surprise. Little Jun, Ting Qingshan's face was full of smiles. "It's much faster than before. Qingshan, you're all smiles again. You must have gained a lot, right? Have you broken through to the insightful emptiness realm?" Li Jun didn't have a domain, so she couldn't sense the change in Ting Qingshan's aura. "Is it that easy to break through?" Ting Qingshan smiled. At the same time, he gently swiped his left hand. It was as though he was scattering thousands of drops of nectar. The surrounding space was filled with the aura of life. "This time, I comprehended the Tao of life. Now I have fully comprehended the Tao of life and death. Being able to comprehend the Taos of life and death means that my understanding of the 5 elements has reached a higher level. The fusion of the metal element, fire element, and part of the water element would form the Tao of death, which was also the Tao of destruction. The fusion of the wood element, earth element, and a portion of the water element would form the Tao of life." It had been a year since he fought with Huang Tianqin of Emperor Yu's hall. During this 1 year, Ting Qingshan felt that he had improved every time he went into closed-door cultivation. Until today, he finally comprehended the Tao of life. Comprehending the Tao of life and death did not increase his strength. As for the 5 elements, I'm very close to reaching the state of circle. Actually, I can feel that I have left the insightful emptiness realm. Just a little bit more. I even wanted to continue my seclusion after comprehending the Tao of life and death. He stepped into the insightful emptiness realm in one go. However, he had just comprehended the Tao of life and death, so his mental state was not right. "I can't sink." Ting Qingshan shook his head. It's better to rest for a few days before meditating. Work hard and break through to the insightful emptiness realm in one go. Haste makes waste. This kind of increase in realm was not something that could be achieved just because one wanted to. Where are Hongwu and Linlin? Ting Qingshan frowned. They're not here again? They are in Yong'an County, Li Jun replied. Yes. Ever since he sensed that there was a conspiracy behind the killing of the internal martial arts disciples, Ting Qingshan's heart trembled. Ting Qingshan cautiously ordered his children to stay in the Great Yen Mountain, or go to Yong'an County. Except for these two places, they were not allowed to go to any other place until the crisis was over. The Great Yen Mountain was Ting Qingshan's base camp. As for Yong'an County, it was the core of the Guiyuan sect. The dreamy cloud martial immortal, Mu Tao, was also there. Ting Qingshan was naturally at ease. On the afternoon that Ting Qingshan came out of seclusion, Teacher, his second disciple, Yang Dong, hurried over. Ting Qingshan was sitting by the pond, drinking tea and watching the fish in the pond. Ah Dong, what's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? Ting Qingshan frowned. Every time he came out of seclusion, Yang Dong would choose a time to report to Ting Qingshan what had happened in the past month. He was rarely in such a hurry. Teacher, Yang Dong hastily said, I heard that teacher came out of seclusion, so I immediately came over. There is indeed an important matter. Ting Qingshan frowned slightly. 2 days ago, the Xingyi sect searched for Gong Yu in the land of the 9 prefectures for a whole year. Finally, someone discovered that Gong Yu had concealed his identity and was hiding in a small city in Yuzhou, northeast of the land of the 9 prefectures, Yang Dong said. Gong Yu. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. This traitor was indeed a thorn in Ting Qingshan's heart. If they couldn't catch the first traitor, it would affect the prestige of the sect. Did you catch him? Ting Qingshan hastily asked. I have already ordered people to catch him, Yang Dong hastily said. Teacher, don't worry. A large number of people of the Xingyi sect are rushing over to that small city. Moreover, the matter of catching Gong Yu in Yuzhou, we have also received help from the Heavenly God Palace. I believe that Gong Yu will not be able to escape. Since the Xingyi sect was offering a reward in the land of the 9 prefectures, they naturally had to arrange everything with the other sections. All right. We must catch Gong Yu, Ting Qingshan hastily said solemnly. I understand. Yang Dong was so angry that he was gnashing his teeth. A traitor actually managed to hide for a year without being caught. If Gong Yu managed to escape this time, he would lose even more face as the substitute sovereign. 3 days later. In the East Flower Garden, Ting Qingshan's family of 4 gathered together. The 2 of you are willing to come back? Ting Qingshan smiled as he looked at his son and daughter. Father, we didn't go there to play. We were busy with official business, Honglin hastily said. You are the most cunning one. Ting Qingshan smiled. Then, his gaze fell on his son, Hongwu. Hongwu, how did you get along with the young lady from the Lei clan in Yong'an County? Since both of you are so considerate, I will send someone to propose marriage. I will also discuss with the Lei clan when you will get married. Father, Little Ru's mourning period is not over yet, Hongwu hastily said. Oh, look at me. I forgot. Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded. His son and daughter were both grown up now. Naturally, Ting Qingshan was very concerned about his children's marriage. After all, marriage was an important matter, and it couldn't be sloppy. Now that his son, Hongwu, liked a girl, Ting Qingshan had already secretly ordered people to investigate her background and matters clearly. Although the Lei clan wasn't a big clan, they only had a small amount of assets. He only had a small amount of assets, but in Ting Qingshan's eyes, money was nothing. A clean family background, and the girl's character was good. That was enough. Hongwu doesn't make me worry, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. He always finds a girl. The current Ting clan was definitely one of the top clans in the land of the 9 prefectures. Many people wanted to join the Ting Jia village, let alone marry Ting Qingshan's son. Therefore, Ting Qingshan didn't dare to be careless. Lin is really... Ting Qingshan sighed to himself. The young man, Wei Jiang, whom Ting Qingshan had met in the past, was now an elite being nurtured by the Xing-Yi sect. It was a pity that Lin was only curious about Wei Jiang at that time. After entering the Xing-Yi sect, Wei Jiang was obsessed with the cultivation of the internal martial art and didn't take the initiative to interact with Lin. Naturally, they didn't develop any feelings for each other. They were just martial brothers and sisters. Is my daughter going to be like Pei San's daughter and remain unmarried for the rest of her life? Ting Qingshan thought to himself. However, I heard from little June that her teacher, Pei Xuelian, was deceived by a man. That's why she remained unmarried for the rest of her life. I don't want Lin to be like that. While Ting Qingshan was thinking, Li Jun chatted with her children. Mother, I have something to tell you, Hongwu suddenly said. What is it? Li Jun asked in surprise. Actually, my sister also has a sweetheart now. Hongwu chuckled. Ah! Ting Qingshan and Li Jun were shocked. They looked at their daughter Honglin in surprise. Honglin's face was red, but she pretended that nothing had happened. She glanced at her younger brother, Hongwu, and gave him a warning look. Then, she laughed and said, Father, Mother, there aren't many people in this world that I like. Don't worry. If you want to marry me, you must at least defeat me. Otherwise, I will look down on you. Now we just chatted for a while. We haven't even gotten married yet, Honglin said confidently. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun looked at each other and laughed. I will order someone to investigate the man who is close to Honglin, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. He didn't dare to be careless. Dong? Ting Qingshan could clearly sense Yang Dong's aura. He was rushing toward the East Flower Garden. Dong is here, Ting Qingshan said. Why is second apprentice brother here? Hongwu and Honglin asked in surprise. They looked toward the door. Soon, Yang Dong appeared outside. Teacher, teacher, Yang Dong shouted from afar. What happened? Did you catch Gongyu? Ting Qingshan asked. He was most concerned about this matter. That traitor Gongyu? Hongwu said in surprise. Did you find that bastard? Honglin stared. Yang Dong looked at Ting Qingshan with a bitter expression. Then, he handed over the secret letter in his hand and said, Teacher, the information is here. Seeing Yang Dong's expression, Ting Qingshan felt that something was wrong. He frowned and took the letter, reading it carefully. Second apprentice brother, tell us quickly, Honglin couldn't help but urge him. Yang Dong said to Honglin, Hongwu, and Li Jun, last night, our people found Gongyu's hiding place. We surrounded him on all 3 levels. Gongyu had nowhere to run. However, he didn't run. When we rushed in and wanted to capture him, he suddenly stopped. Gongyu poured kerosene on his body before we arrived. When we rushed in, he set himself on fire. He even shouted and said, Ting Qingshan, don't even think about getting my corpse intact. After Yang Dong said this, he couldn't help but look at Ting Qingshan. Hongwu and Honglin, who were at the side, thought about a person who set himself on fire and shouted this. They could imagine his ferocious and resentful expression. They couldn't help but shudder. This person is crazy. How old is Gongyu? How could he have a grudge against father? Hongwu and Honglin couldn't help but ask. Ting Qingshan looked at the line of words on the secret letter. Even if he set himself on fire, he wouldn't get an intact corpse. This way, Ting Qingshan couldn't prove that the corpse belonged to Gongyu. The person who has a grudge against me isn't this young man. It's his father or his teacher. Or a sect. Ting Qingshan said slowly. The 4th chapter was over. Let me say this in a low voice. It's the end of the month. You have to hurry and cast your vote. Cough. If you cast your votes for tomato, tomato will be the happiest. Yes, there are also recommendation votes. There are recommendation votes every day. Recommendation votes are also a form of support for the author. Chapter 568. Sect. Li Jun and Yang Dong, who was beside her, were shocked. Teacher, are you talking about Qinghu Island? A cold light flashed in Yang Dong's eyes. Ting Qingshan nodded and said, Ever since I returned to the land of the 9 prefectures, only Emperor Yu's Hall, Shooting Sun God Mountain, and Qinghu Island have enmity with me. However, Emperor Yu's Hall and Shooting Sun God Mountain are both powerful sections. They wouldn't be so stupid. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility of them attacking us. However, it's most likely that the surviving members of Qinghu Island want to take revenge. Surviving members of Qinghu Island? Hongwu and Honglin were slightly confused. When they were born, Qinghu Island had already been destroyed. They naturally didn't know much about Qinghu Island. Surviving members of Qinghu Island. Li Jun frowned and said, When you killed the blind sword master, Qingshan, the elites of Qinghu Island collapsed. They scattered. We didn't kill all the experts of Qinghu Island. If all the experts of Qinghu Island gathered together, their power would be amazing. Dong. Ting Qingshan suddenly shouted. Teacher, Yang Dong hastily answered. Pass down my order. Gong Yu has been hiding for a year. He must have a helper in Yuzhou. Find out who Gong Yu has been in contact with over the past year, and which faction he belongs to. Ting Qingshan frowned and said, Moreover, the person who secretly warned me about the Xingyi sect was a mysterious innate expert in Yuzhou. If it weren't for him, thousands of internal martial arts disciples would have died. Gong Yu is hiding in Yuzhou, and so is this mysterious innate expert. There must be a big secret in Yuzhou. Find out everything. Also, find the people who are hiding among the surviving members of Qinghu Island in the land of the 9 prefectures. Find out if the surviving members of Qinghu Island are plotting something. Ting Qingshan said solemnly. The Xingyi sect was an extremely powerful force in the land of the 9 prefectures. They also had spies among the surviving members of Qinghu Island. Yes, teacher, Yang Dong answered respectfully. Ting Qingshan's heart was filled with killing intent as he thought to himself, Qinghu Island, I originally wanted to let you guys go. However, if you are really plotting to take revenge behind my back, then you are courting death. Ting Qingshan had killed the main culprit, the blind sword master, and Gu Yong was nowhere to be found. Ting Qingshan did not have much killing intent towards the other people of Qinghu Island. However, since they dared to plot against him, he definitely couldn't let them live. 5 days later, at night, in Ting Qingshan's study room, Elder Zhong Lu personally came to report. Sect Master, there's news from Yuzhou. Zhong Lu held a thick stack of papers in his hands. These are all the things we've found out about Gong Yu over the past year. Everything, big or small, is recorded. Ting Qingshan looked at the thick stack and frowned slightly. If he wanted to read it, he would probably have to read it until midnight. He immediately said, Uncle Zhong, what did you find out from this information? Just tell me directly. Yes. Zhong Lu said respectfully and quickly, in Yuzhou, we found out that there were 18 people who had contact with Gong Yu. Among these 18 people, except for 4 who were not suspicious, the other 14 were very suspicious. We immediately sent people to capture these 14 people. However, when our people arrived, these 14 people were already dead. All dead? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Yes. Not only did these 14 people die, but their families also died. Zhong Lu answered. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. The power that wanted to plot against him was indeed ruthless. In order to not be exposed, they even killed their own people, including the families of the 14 people. After all, the dead can't speak. The clues to find Gong Yu are broken. Zhong Lu said respectfully, Sect Master, we can only conclude one thing. Gongyu snuck into our Xing-Yi sect to learn fist arts. Then, he leaked the fist arts to the outside world to frame us. This was because he had been living a very simple and low-key life during this period of hiding. Moreover, he rarely went to places with many people. Obviously, he didn't betray the Xing-Yi sect for money or fame. Ting Qingshan nodded. Everything was confirmed. There was indeed a powerful power behind Gongyu that was eyeing him like a tiger watching its prey. All right, Uncle Zong. If there's nothing else, you can go back and rest, Ting Qingshan said. Yes. After Zong Lu left respectfully, Ting Qingshan pondered for a long time in the study room alone. Then, he sent a voice transmission to Li Jun, asking her to come over. Qingshan, what's the matter? Li Jun smiled as she walked into the study room. Little Jun, ask the blade-like Qi to go to the boorish desolate immediately. Invite Little Blue here. From today onwards, the Xing-Yi sect must be under martial law. At the same time, I will ask Little Blue to stay in the Great Yen Mountain for a long time, Ting Qingshan said solemnly. So serious? Li Jun was shocked. Yes. What a pity. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, Yuzhou is not the territory of the Xing-Yi sect. It is the territory of the Heavenly God Palace. The manpower of the Xing-Yi sect there is limited. Although I know that many people of this power are hiding in Yuzhou, the Xing-Yi sect can't owe the Heavenly God Palace too much. Ting Qingshan didn't want the help of the Heavenly God Palace. The Heavenly God Palace. We should stay away from them, Ting Qingshan said. Yes, I also feel that the Heavenly God Palace is becoming more and more dangerous. Li Jun nodded and said, when they gathered their troops in Yuzhou, I thought they would attack the Snow Hawk Hall. However, who would have thought that the elite troops of Qingzhou and Yuzhou would gather together and cross thousands of li into the Great Prairie? Then, they gathered with the elite troops of the Great Prairie. Now they are at the southernmost part of the Great Prairie. They are entering the desert. Ting Qingshan nodded. Yes, the Heavenly God Palace is really daring. Since 2 years ago, the Heavenly God Palace had gradually mobilized their troops and gathered more than 1 million elite troops of Qingzhou and Yuzhou. Then, they gathered with the elite troops of the Great Prairie. After marching for more than 10,000 li, they entered the vast desert. A 10,000 li desert. That was a forbidden area for life. There was a serious shortage of water in the desert. Moreover, horses couldn't run fast in the desert. Moreover, the desert was too vast. It was very difficult for the troops to march. It is obvious that the Heavenly God Palace wants to cross the 10,000 li desert and go around the countries of the western region. Then, they will attack the Mani Temple along the Golden Road. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but sigh. During this period of time, they will need a lot of food and water. Fortunately, the Heavenly God Palace only sent out their elite troop. The total number of troops in the 3 regions was only slightly more than 1 million. The Heavenly God Palace controlled nearly 1 billion people in their territory. This army of more than 1 million was definitely an elite troop. The 2 strongest sects in the land of the 9 prefectures are fighting. Li Jun smiled. Ever since the army of the Heavenly God Palace gathered at the edge of the desert, all the sects in the land of the 9 prefectures understood the intention of the Heavenly God Palace. Besides attacking the Mani Temple, there was no other possibility. Actually, there was an even simpler method. They could annihilate the Ying family, pass through Yongzhou, and then attack the Mani Temples Rongzhou and Liangzhou. However, Yongzhou, where the Ying family was located, was surrounded by the 3,000 li Qinling Mountains. It was very difficult to break through. Obviously, the Heavenly God Palace didn't want to be enemies with the Ying family. They would rather take a detour through the 10,000 li desert. The Heavenly God Palace must have planned to annihilate Qing Hu Island and the Shooting Sun God Mountain. Then, they could attack the Mani Temple. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but say, yes. This route is the easiest one among the 3. Qinghu Island and the Shooting Sun God Mountain are relatively weak. Li Jun nodded. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Pei San wants to attack the Mani Temple. Let the Mani Temple worry about this. It has nothing to do with us. Now, I have to find out who is plotting against the Xingyi sect. In the following days, pieces of information were continuously sent to the Xingyi sect and Ting Qingshan's desk. However, the value of these pieces of information was not high. They could not find out what kind of special plot the remnants of Qinghu Island had. I will deal with all the changes by remaining unchanged. I will find out who is plotting against me. Ting Qingshan guarded the Great Yen Mountain. The Undying Phoenix, Little Blue, and the six-legged blade-like Qi were also in the Great Yen Mountain. He was not afraid of anyone. The land of the 9 prefectures welcomed a strange period of peace. The army of the Heavenly God Palace was advancing slowly in the vast 10,000-li desert. However, there were no major movements in the land of the 9 prefectures. In the Xingyi sect of the Great Yen Mountain, Rumble, the 2 doors of Ting Qingshan's cultivation room in the East Flower Garden opened with a loud bang. Ting Qingshan walked out. The entire East Flower Garden was covered in a silvery white color, and the ground was covered in snow. Qingshan. Li Jun went up to greet him. Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun and shook his head helplessly. I always feel that I am very close to the insightful emptiness realm. However, every time I cultivate in seclusion, I always find that I still have some flaws. Every time I cultivate, I gain some enlightenment and improve a little. Ting Qingshan was also very helpless. It was as if he could already see a tall mountain in front of him. However, no matter how he hurried, the mountain was still in front of him. He could see it, but he could not reach it. However, I cannot rush. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, just like my teacher. The Tao he comprehended is the Tao of life. He has been comprehending it for a long time, but he still has not reached the culmination stage. Sovereign Zhuge is too ambitious. Li Jun shook her head and said, he could have comprehended the Tao of mist, but he refused. Instead, he wanted to comprehend the entire Tao of life. He could control 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth in one go. Zhuge Yuanhong and Mu Tao, who was in charge of the Gui Yuan sect, had a very good relationship. Ever since he knew about Duanmu Yu in the Duanmu continent, it was his first time stepping into the emptiness realm, yet he could control 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth. Since Mu Tao was in charge of the sect, Zhuge Yuanhong also calmed his heart and wanted to comprehend the Tao of life in one go. Teacher's actions are also beneficial. If he can comprehend the Tao of life in one go before stepping into the emptiness realm, it will be much easier for him to comprehend the Tao of heaven. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, in the future it will be much easier for him to comprehend the Tao of heaven. Not long after Ting Qingshan came out of seclusion, Elder Zhonglu, who was in charge of intelligence, rushed over. At this moment, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun were sitting opposite each other in the living room, having lunch together. Thud, thud, thud. Zhonglu walked over rapidly, stepping on the snow. Uncle Zhong. Ting Qingshan smiled and walked to the door of the living room to welcome Zhonglu. Sovereign, when I heard that you came out of seclusion, I immediately rushed over. Zhonglu immediately took out a stack of paper. Chapter 569. It's about Linlin, Zhonglu said. About Linlin? Ting Qingshan turned his head and exchanged a glance with Li Jun, who was walking over. Then, he took the stack of papers and said, Uncle Zhong, you can go ahead with your work. We will look through the information slowly. Both Ting Qingshan and Li Jun attached great importance to their daughter, Honglin. 2 days later, in the East Flower Garden of the Xingyi sect in the Great Yen Mountain, Father, Mother, Honglin, who was dressed in tight clothes, dashed into the courtyard of her family's house. she shouted from afar with an excited smile on her face. Although the ground was covered with snow, Hong Lin was still very fast when she ran. She directly rushed into the courtyard. Lin Lin, you only know your father and mother. You don't even call them grandpa, Ting Yongfan, who had a lot of silver hair on his head, said with a smile. Yuan Lan looked at her granddaughter dotingly and said, Lin Lin, I haven't seen you for more than a month. Yes, you have grown even more beautiful. I wonder which young man will be lucky enough to marry our Lin Lin. Grandpa, Grandma, Hong Lin immediately greeted them sweetly. Ting Yongfan and Yuan Lan nodded with smiles on their faces. Father, Ting Qingshan said with a smile, Lin Lin has a sweetheart now. Who is it? Ting Yongfan and Yuan Lan were shocked and looked at Hong Lin in surprise. Hong Lin touched her nose and looked at Ting Qingshan. Father, did my younger brother tell you? I also know that the lucky young man is called Fan Anren. Lin Lin, am I right? Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Li Jun, who was at the side, even smiled and said, I heard that my daughter and this Fan Anren went on a boat in broad daylight, hand in hand, and toured the lake together. Hong Lin's face turned red with embarrassment. Hand in hand? Ting Yongfan was shocked. In the land of the 9 prefectures, men and women rarely held hand. Even when they were in the Guiyuan sect, Ting Qingshan and Zhuge Qing had never held hands, not to mention holding hands in broad daylight. The significance of this was extraordinary. Where is this Fan Anren from? Ting Yongfan couldn't help but ask. Anran is a disciple of the Guiyuan sect. He is now a commandant of the Black Armored Corps, Hong Lin said honestly. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun looked at each other and felt that something was wrong. He even called her Anran? This form of address was too intimate. Lin Lin, Ting Qingshan said with a smile, your mother and I, as well as your grandparents, all want to meet this young man called Fan Anren. When are you going to bring him home? Bring it home? Hong Lin blinked. Yes, it will be the annual sacrifice in 2 days. After the yearly sacrifice, you can bring Fan Anren to the house. Let your mother and I take a good look. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, if this Fan Anren really wants to marry my daughter, then he would have to go through me. Otherwise, I will not agree. I have raised my daughter for almost 20 years. Hong Lin giggled. She knew her father's temper very well. He didn't care about the rich or the poor. He only cared about the person's character. Yes, okay. Hong Lin nodded. After the new year, I will bring him here to meet father and mother. Father and mother, you have to teach him a lesson. At night, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun had already gone to bed. Qingshan, according to the information we've gathered, this Fan Anren guy is still fine, but he's not that bad. However, the identity of his father is uncertain. Yes. His father only came to Yong'an County 15 years ago. According to our investigation, he used to be a mounted bandit. We can't find any other information. The land of the 9 prefectures was too chaotic. Even with the power of the Xingyi sect, it was difficult to investigate the affairs of a destroyed mounted bandit gang 15 years ago. It's fine if his father's background is not clean. Let's see how this young man called Fan Anren is. Ting Qingshan said, if this Fan Anren passes our test, he will be very good. It will be good for him to be with Lin Lin. Lin Lin has already reached the marriageable age. Yes. Yes, at her age, I would have married you long ago, Qingshan. Ting Qingshan and his wife obviously attached great importance to their daughter's marriage. The annual sacrifice passed quickly. Hong Lin left the Xingyi sect and went to Yong'an County. Yong'an County. On the second floor of a tea house, a plain-looking young man with bright eyes was sitting opposite Hong Lin by the window. At this time of day, there were very few customers who came to drink tea. There were only 3 to 5 customers on the second floor. What? The young man was shocked. Go to your house? Yes. My father and mother want to meet you. Hong Lin nodded. The young man was stunned. He blinked his eyes and said, your father, I'm going to meet your father? The young man's breathing became rapid. On the other side, Hong Lin couldn't help but laugh. She knew that her sweetheart, Fan Anren, admired Ting Qingshan very much. In fact, the majority of the younger generation in the land of the 9 prefectures had grown up listening to Ting Qingshan's legends. Don't worry, Anran. My father won't eat you. Hong Lin covered her mouth and laughed. Phew! Fan Anren let out a long breath. Lin, your father. I'm going to see your father. This. Although I know that your father is Senior Ting Qingshan, I have never seen him and I don't feel anything. However, the thought of seeing him. I feel nervous. I'm even more nervous than when I was in the Guiyuan sect, during the Centurion selection. Look at your useless appearance. In front of my father, you have to have some manliness. My father despises weak people the most, Hong Lin said deliberately. Fan Anren nodded. Don't worry. I won't embarrass you in front of your father. You have to remember. If you can't get past my father, don't even think about marrying me, Hong Lin said straightforwardly. Fan Anren had a bitter look on his face. Seeing this, Hong Lin couldn't help but laugh. While this pair of lovers were flirting, another person who was drinking tea at the side frowned and quickly left. Only Hong Lin and Fan Anren were left on the second floor. Get ready. We will leave the day after tomorrow, Hong Lin decided. Okay. Fan Anren nodded. What do you have to prepare to see my father? Let's go. Let's go and see what we can buy, Hong Lin said as she stood up. This pair of young people prepared some gifts and arrived at the Xing-Yi sect in the Great Yen Mountain on the 21st day of the first month. In the living room, Ting Qingshan, Li Jun, Hong Lin, and Fan Anren, who had brought many gifts, were sitting at the same table and eating lunch. Anren. Ting Qingshan looked at this young man with a smile. Why are you only eating plain rice? You don't need me to help you eat, right? Fan Anren's face was slightly red. Beads of sweat could be seen on his forehead and nose. It was obvious that he was extremely nervous to sit at the same table as Ting Qingshan. No need. Fan Anren quickly picked up some food for himself. Father, Hong Lin glared at Ting Qingshan and said, This is Anren's first time. He can't let go. Ting Qingshan smiled and exchanged glances with Li Jun, who was sitting beside him. After their initial contact, both husband and wife were satisfied with this young man named Fan Anren. After lunch, Anren, come with me. Ting Qingshan stood up and walked towards the door. Fan Anren froze. Hurry up and go, Hong Lin said in a low voice and pushed him. Fan Anren woke up with a start and hastily left with Ting Qingshan. Only Li Jun and Hong Lin were left in the living room. Mother, is everything okay? Hong Lin looked at Li Jun. It seems good now. Li Jun smiled and nodded. Later, your father will personally talk to Fan Anren. If he can get past your father, then the matter between you two will be settled. However, if he can't get past your father, then I can't do anything. Hong Lin snorted and said, Anren will definitely get past my father. Creak. Ting Qingshan pushed open the door of the study room and walked in. He walked towards the armchair at the side and sat down. Fan Anren then entered the study room. Ting Qingshan's study room was obviously more spacious. It was about 4 to 5 zhang wide. After Fan Anren entered, he seemed slightly reserved. Anren, Ting Qingshan said. Uncle, Fan Anren answered respectfully. What weapon did you use in the Guiyuan sect? Ting Qingshan asked. I used a spear, Fan Anren said hastily. Ting Qingshan smiled and waved his right hand outside. The branch of a big tree in the courtyard was immediately broken. The messy branches were all cut off. Then, a wooden stick flew into the study room and landed in Ting Qingshan's hand. Show me your most powerful spear art. This place is good enough, right? Ting Qingshan smiled and threw the wooden stick over. Fan Anren reached out his hand and caught it. He took a deep breath and cupped his hands. Uncle, please guide me. After he finished speaking, Fan Anren's entire aura changed. For a moment, he was as sharp as a sword. With a "pa" sound, Fan Anren began to display his spear art. Fan Anren's spear art was extremely fast. Every move was as fierce as a wild wolf biting. For a moment, the entire study room was filled with the shadows of the spear. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. One could see a person's character from his spear art. Fan Anren was definitely a person with a firm heart. Otherwise, his spear art wouldn't be so imposing. Only by putting one's heart could one practice a good spear art. Similarly, one could also see part of a person's heart from his spear art. Ting Qingshan frowned slightly. As the #1 spear artist in the land of the 9 prefectures, Ting Qingshan felt an obscure ruthlessness from Fan Anren's spear art. Is there a ruthlessness hidden in the depths of Fan Anren's heart? Could it be that he was tortured when he was young? Ting Qingshan's heart stirred. Anren, use your most powerful technique. Ting Qingshan's voice suddenly became a little strange. It faintly carried a strange fluctuation. In his previous life, Ting Qingshan was already somewhat proficient in hypnosis. In this life, his spirit was extremely powerful, so he understood the principles of hypnosis even better. To hypnotize a person who hadn't even reached the innate realm, it was too easy. One should know that the God of the God of Heaven mountain could even affect the 80,000 soldiers of Hong Tian City, who were unafraid of death with just his voice. Even if Ting Qingshan wasn't as powerful as that God of Heaven, hypnotizing Fan Anren was a piece of cake. For the sake of his daughter, Ting Qingshan obviously had to carefully investigate Fan Anren's background. End of the 2nd chapter. Continue writing the 3rd chapter. Chapter 570. Hearing Ting Qingshan's voice, Fan Anren's eyes faintly glowed with a blood-red light. He unleashed his spear technique in a frenzy. At the same time, a furious roar came from his throat. Kill! All of you die! None of you can escape! None of you can escape! All of you die! In an instant, powerful qi shot out from his spear technique. Qi, the 5-colored power of the world, instantly filled the entire study. When Fan Anren's spear was about to attack the items in the study, it would naturally be blocked by the power of the world. Heh! Fan Anren was like a wild beast, and his throat emitted strange sounds. Ting Qingshan's expression became very serious. I didn't expect this Fan Anren to have such a crazy and ruthless aura hidden in the depths of his heart. Originally, Ting Qingshan thought that even if Fan Anren had sorrow and hatred in his heart, it might not be too intense. But from the looks of it now, this ruthless aura was shockingly powerful. Strange. This Fan Anren said that he wants to kill people and kill all of them. Who does he want to kill? Also, in front of me, you were very simple and kind. However, there was such a ruthless aura hidden in his heart. How can a person's appearance and heart be so different? Ting Qingshan had already denied this young man called Fan Anren in his heart. Even if there was a difference between one's inner heart and outer appearance, it shouldn't be too big. Wearing a mask was normal. But for someone like Fan Anren, with such a huge contrast, it was not normal. This meant that this Fan Anren's ability to endure was too strong, and he hid all of this in the depths of his heart. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from outside. What happened? What happened? Ting Qingshan glanced outside. Li Jun and Linlin had rushed over. This was also because Ting Qingshan deliberately did not isolate the sound, so that his daughter could see Fan Anren's crazy and violent side with her own eyes. This. Hong Lin looked at the scene in front of her in astonishment. She couldn't believe that this man, who was as crazy as a wild beast, was her sweetheart. Anren! Hong Lin suddenly shouted. This shout was like a bucket of cold water being poured on Fan Anren, causing him to suddenly wake up. What's wrong with me? Fan Anren was a little flustered. Anran, what happened to you just now? What happened? Hong Lin was slightly panicked, while Fan Anren looked at Ting Qingshan. Hong Lin turned to look at her father and asked anxiously, Father, what happened to Anren just now? How did Anran become like that? Father, tell me quickly. Ting Qingshan looked at his daughter, Hong Lin. I didn't do anything. I just wanted Fan Anren to reveal the deepest part of his heart. Then, he looked at Fan Anren with an ice-cold gaze. Fan Anren felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Fear. Ting Qingshan instantly caught the look in Fan Anren's eyes. Is he panicking? What's there to panic about? Is he panicking because he lost his composure, or is he afraid that I'll discover something in the depths of his heart? Uncle, what did you do to me? What happened to me just now? Fan Anren looked at Ting Qingshan, then turned to look at Hong Lin and asked, Lin, what happened to me just now? Just now, you looked like you wanted to kill someone. You were like a crazy beast, Hong Lin said worriedly. Li Jun, who was at the side, frowned as she looked at Fan Anren. Young man, Ting Qingshan said indifferently, can you explain why you behaved like that just now? Fan Anren looked at Ting Qingshan and then at Hong Lin, who had a worried expression on her face. He took a deep breath and said, Lin, I'll tell you the truth. My father wasn't a blacksmith in the past. In fact, he used to be a mounted bandit. As for me, I'm the son of a mounted bandit. Mounted bandit? Hong Lin froze. Ting Qingshan frowned slightly. Actually, he had already found out about this a long time ago. Yes. Fan Anren nodded slightly and said, When I was very young, I was in a mounted bandit's lair. Fan Anren seemed to be immersed in his memories. Although I was in a mounted bandit's lair, those uncles treated me very well. However, when I was 7 years old, the mounted bandit gang that my father was in was attacked by another gang. Fan Anren's body trembled slightly. In that calamity, my father's gang was finished. They were all finished. Leader, what about the other uncles? Uncles, one by one, either died or fled. And my mother? Fan Anren clenched his teeth and said, At the beginning, my mother was killed by an arrow. The other women in the mounted bandits' lair were either killed or taken away. At that time, my father took me and fled in panic. Finally, he was able to keep his life. Later on, my father and I came to Yong'an County. When my father was in the mounted bandits' lair, he often helped forge weapons and had some blacksmithing skills. Relying on this skill, he established a foothold in Yong'an County. Fan Anren's eyes revealed a hint of ruthlessness. However, the mounted bandit gang that killed my mother and uncles, I always wanted to take revenge. However, later on, I found out that when I was 10 years old, that gang was destroyed by another gang. I wanted to take revenge, but there was nowhere to do it. Fan Anren's body trembled in pain. Don't be sad. Hong Lin hastily walked over and held Fan Anren's hand. Fan Anren looked at Hong Lin gratefully. Young man. Ting Qingshan's voice sounded. Uncle. Fan Anren looked at Ting Qingshan. This matter isn't a shameful one. Why did you keep it a secret? Ting Qingshan looked at him indifferently. Fan Anren smiled bitterly and said, After coming to Yong'an County, my father tried to send me to the Guiyuan sect. Most of the disciples in the Guiyuan sect were either from rich families or from the countryside. They looked down on mounted bandits and mounted bandit. If they knew that my father was a mounted bandit, I would definitely be looked down upon. When I was young, I didn't want to be looked down upon, so I didn't tell them. After a long time, I didn't want to tell them. Anren. Hong Lin thought of her own life and Fan Anren's miserable life. She couldn't help but lean towards Fan Anren. Father, that's enough. Hong Lin looked at Ting Qingshan discontentedly. Let Anren rest, Ting Qingshan ordered. As he watched his daughter and Fan Anren leave, Ting Qingshan's face darkened. Only Ting Qingshan and his wife were left in the study room. Qingshan, how is he? Li Jun inquired. He's not suitable. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, If a normal person encountered such a great difficulty when he was young, he would have suffered a calamity at the age of 7. He entered the Guiyuan sect at the age of 8. What do you think he should be like? Li Jun was startled and said, "Yes, such a great calamity. He's young. He should have a strange temperament, or he should be cold and unsociable." However, according to the investigation, this Fan Anren entered the Guiyuan sect at a young age and has always been a very good child. He's very obedient. Moreover, he gets along very well with his fellow disciples. When Fan Anren is mentioned, his fellow disciples all praise him. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "After experiencing a great calamity, a child who entered the Guiyuan sect is so obedient and has a good relationship with his fellow disciples. Don't you think it's strange?" Li Jun nodded slightly. "Moreover, just now in the study room, based on my experience and feeling, this Fan Anren should be hiding something from us." Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, "This kind of person is not suitable for Linlin." In the evening. "Father, do you think he's not suitable?" After dinner, the family of 3 was sitting together. When she heard Ting Qingshan's words, Honglin was startled. "Yes." Ting Qingshan nodded and said, "This Fan Anren is different from the outside. He's not suitable for you." "What do you mean by different from the inside?" Honglin suddenly became angry. She was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. Anren encountered a great calamity when he was young. Even his mother died. Of course, he felt pain and hatred. However, he could only bury it in his heart and didn't dare to tell anyone. This time, father, you drew out the hatred from the depths of his heart. This is already very bad. Father, did you say that Anren is different from the outside? Ting Qingshan frowned slightly. Li Jun, who was at the side, hastily said, "Linlin, sit down. How can you talk to your father like that?" Honglin took a deep breath and sat down again. "Linlin." Ting Qingshan looked at his daughter calmly and said, "If you believe me, then don't have any contact with this Fan Anren anymore." "Father." Honglin looked at Ting Qingshan with a pained expression. In Honglin's heart, the person she admired the most was her father. When she was young, she grew up listening to the legends of Ting Qingshan. Although she was sometimes mischievous, as long as Ting Qingshan's words were serious, Honglin would absolutely not dare to disobey. However, this time, it was related to the first person she liked since she was young. "Father, don't." Honglin's eyes were filled with tears. "This Fan Anren is not suitable for you. If you want evidence, I will find it for you within a year," said Ting Qingshan. "Now, cut off contact with him." Honglin didn't say anything and remained silent for a long time. "Father, I am going to sleep." Honglin directly left the room. Watching Honglin leave, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but frown. He didn't know how to persuade his daughter. Li Jun also had a worried expression. The next day, at dawn, the sky was still dark. In East Flower Garden, in Honglin's boudoir, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun both walked in. Linlin left. "You didn't stop her?" Li Jun frowned and said unhappily. Ting Qingshan shook his head and pointed at the dressing table not far away. "Last night, Linlin was in front of the dressing table the whole night. She didn't sleep. I know Linlin. She is very stubborn. I can't stop her by force. If she wants to leave, let her go. With little Qing following her secretly, nothing will happen." Last night, Ting Qingshan didn't rest either. He was constantly sensing his daughter's location and guessing her thoughts. Li Jun walked to the dressing table and said, "There are 2 letters here. Qingshan, this one is for you and the other one is for me." Ting Qingshan took the letter. "To father." Ting Qingshan opened the envelope and took out the paper inside. When he saw it, Ting Qingshan's heart trembled. He could still see the tear stains on the paper. There were 2 pieces of paper in total. As he read, Ting Qingshan's expression became uglier and paler. "What's wrong?" Li Jun came over and saw the letter in Ting Qingshan's hand. When she saw it, she couldn't help but say angrily, "How can this child speak like this? Qingshan, don't be angry." Linlin wrote this because she was hot-headed, Li Jun said hastily. Ting Qingshan looked down at the letter and felt a pain in his heart. Then, he shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "I also want to see if I'm wrong about her or if my daughter has better taste." This is the 3rd chapter, continue writing the 4th chapter. Chapter 571. Father, ever since I was young, I always felt that you were the wisest. You told me in the past that when I marry someone, I don't care about his family background. I only care about his character. As long as he's a good person, you will agree. You also said that you won't force your children to marry like other parents. However, I learned today that I'm the same as other parents. Father, I learned that I'm the same as other parents. That is, marriage is decided by parents. You said that Anren is a good person. However, there are thousands of people in the Guiyuan sect who know Anren. How many of them say that he's a bad person? Could it be that the thousands of people in the Guiyuan sect are wrong? I've known him for almost a year. How could I be wrong? Father, you only spent half a day with him and decided that he's not suitable for you? I understand. Father, you must be right. You know that Anren was a mounted bandit. You must be the daughter of the founder of the Xing-Yi sect and the founder of the internal martial art. How could you marry the son of a mounted bandit? Is this a disgrace to you? Am I right? Father, don't deny it. I know it too. The more powerful a person is, the more he values his reputation. I can understand. Maybe my happiness is not as important as my reputation. Back then, for happiness, I didn't regret crossing the sea with you. Now, for happiness, I'm willing to marry the son of a mounted bandit. A message from your daughter, Honglin. The words in the letter were filled with resentment and injustice. Obviously, Ting Qingshan forced her to cut off contact with Fan Anren. This made Honglin feel pain, anger, and unwillingness. A woman immersed in love was indeed irrational. She even thought that Ting Qingshan did this because of his reputation. Ting Qingshan felt sad. He didn't expect that his obedient daughter, whom he had doted on since she was young, would think of him like this. Little June, you see? Linlin is learning from you. She said that when you crossed the sea to pursue happiness, she also wants to pursue her happiness. Ting Qingshan looked at his wife. This child has lost her mind. Li Jun shook her head. Qingshan, don't take Linlin's words to heart. How could he not take it to heart? Ever since she was young, she was afraid that it would melt in her mouth, and if she touched her hand, she was afraid that it would fall. Ting Qingshan had spoiled Honglin a lot when she was young. He had always believed that daughters should be spoiled and sons should be stricter. Ting Qingshan really didn't have any other thoughts for his daughter, but who would have thought that? She ran away with a man and abandoned her father. There's no way to persuade Linlin right now, Ting Qingshan said, shaking his head despite his heartache. We can only let her try her luck. Only then will she see the truth. I am 80% sure that this Fan Anren is faking it. It's just that his disguise is very clever. What did Ting Qingshan do in his previous life? To be a killer. He was proficient in disguise. This Fan Anren was still lacking compared to Ting Qingshan. However, there was no knowing what was in a man's heart. Ting Qingshan could only say that he was 80% sure. Fortunately, I asked Little Blue to follow him. Ting Qingshan felt slightly relieved. However, Qingshan, wasn't what you said to Little Blue a little too ruthless? Li Jun frowned. Ruthless? Anyone who dares to threaten my daughter deserves to die. In Ting Qingshan's heart, he absolutely wouldn't allow anyone to hurt his family. Li Jun smiled. However, Qingshan, if you made a mistake this time. I made a mistake? Ting Qingshan laughed self-mockingly. If that's the case, it'll be great. I'll be satisfied if I can make my daughter happy after being mocked by her. What I'm afraid of is that I didn't make a mistake. Asterisk, 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 Jia. Jia. Two azure mane treading in snow horses galloped on the official road. Fan Anren and Honglin were riding on these two horses. Actually, over these years, the undying phoenix, Little Blue, had several bird-type demonic beast tribes under her command. Therefore, there were over 10 bird-type demonic beasts in the Great Yen Mountain. Although these bird-type demonic beasts weren't strong, they were extremely fast. Usually, Honglin and Hanwu would ride birds to travel between the Great Yen Mountain and Yong'an County. It was fast and safe. However, this time, Honglin was acting out of spite. She rode her horse out. Lin, slow down. Slow down. Fan Anren chased after her. However, Honglin spurred her horse and galloped at full speed in front of them. Ever since they left the Great Yen Mountain, Honglin's heart was in great pain. At first, she was filled with anger. The glorious image of Ting Qingshan in her heart had collapsed. It turned out that her father was like other parents who tyrannically interfered with his daughter's marriage. "Father, you're really disappointing," Honglin shouted in her heart. The speed of the horse finally slowed down. Lin. Fan Anren finally caught up. "What are you doing?" Honglin glanced at him. Fan Anren revealed a smile. Lin, I know that your father doesn't like me. However, you still came with me. Thank you. Honglin's tears turned into laughter. She glared at him and then revealed a smile. You have a conscience. Alas, I originally thought that your father would like me. I don't know how he became like this. Fan Anren seemed somewhat distressed. Forget it. How can you guess my father's thoughts? Honglin shook her head and said, however, Anren, don't let me down. Honglin stared at him. I won't. Fan Anren laughed softly. Humph, if you let me down I'll kill you. Honglin snorted deliberately. You're not my match. Okay. Heroine, I'm afraid. Fan Anren deliberately begged for mercy. Honglin couldn't help but let out a clear and melodious laugh. Her laughter reverberated on both sides of the official road. The two horses advanced southwest at an astonishing speed. About 2,000 to 3,000 zhang above the two horses, a blurry mass of cloud about 5 to 6 zhang in length was also moving slowly. Inside this cloud was the fiery red, undying phoenix, Little Blue. Little Blue could easily see through the cloud and see the two horses below. It could even see the little white bird on Honglin's horse. Ever since Honglin and Fan Anren returned to the Guiyuan sect in Yong'an County, Ting Qingshan received information about them almost every day. Ting Qingshan paid attention to his daughter all the time. However, everything was peaceful. In the blink of an eye, it was already March. In the county city of Yong'an County, Fan Anren's home was in a very ordinary courtyard. Uncle Fan. Honglin smiled as she carried a basket of fruits. Little girl, you're here. You even bought fruits? If you have some money, why don't you buy some good wine? Your uncle likes to drink wine. A messy old man who reeked of alcohol opened his bloodshot eyes and muttered. He struggled to stand up. Father, why did you drink wine again? You drank so much, Fan Anren said discontentedly. Hee. The messy old man shook his head and said, Nothing. I just thought of your mother. Anren, in half a month, it will be your mother's death anniversary. Get ready and follow me out of the city to pay our respects to your mother. Okay. Fan Anren nodded. The messy old man walked into his house. Anren, are you going to pay your respects to your mother? When are you leaving? Honglin asked. I will leave in 7 or 8 days. Fan Anren sighed and said, My mother's grave is actually a cenotaph. The place where the grave is located is close to the den of mounted bandits where I lived when I was young. It is within the borders of Yenzhou. Yong'an County is the county closest to Yenzhou in Yangzhou. However, it will take 4 or 5 days to get there. It's better to leave earlier. At this moment, Fan Anren seemed a little sad. Okay. Honglin nodded. Lin. Fan Anren's eyes suddenly brightened. Why don't you come with me to pay our respects to my mother? My mother, if she can see you, we can go and pay our respects together. She will definitely be very happy in the underworld when she sees my daughter-in-law. Daughter-in-law? Hong Lin glared at him. Fan Anren smiled shamelessly and said, when the time comes, we will go to pay our respects to my mother, okay? Me? Hong Lin was startled. She was a little tempted, but she shook her head and said, no, my father doesn't allow me to run around. Going to pay respects to my mother with me is also running around? Fan Anren was a little angry. Then, he shook his head and said, all right, forget it. If you don't want to go, then don't go. Anren, it's not like that. Hong Lin struggled for a while, and then made a decision. She nodded and smiled. All right. Anren, I will go with you. I also want to pay my respects to your mother. Really? Fan Anren was a little surprised. Of course. Why? Why are you so surprised? Hong Lin smiled proudly. Thank you. Fan Anren grabbed Hong Lin's hand and said gratefully. Hong Lin blushed slightly. She didn't struggle and let Fan Anren hold her hand. At this moment, in a mansion in the Guiyuan sect, the undying phoenix was lying there, using its domain to sense Hong Lin's location. On the 28th of March, Hong Lin, Fan Anren, and Fan Anren's father, Fan Wudong, left Yong'an County in the morning. In the evening, in an ordinary mansion in Exhilarating City, a small city in Nanxing County in Yangzhou, a silver-haired old man was running toward the depths of the mansion. He ran along the corridor and the gate of the courtyard for a while. Then, he arrived at a quiet courtyard. The silver-haired old man couldn't help but hold his breath when he arrived at the entrance of the courtyard. After thinking for a while, he said respectfully, Sir, a secret letter from Yong'an County. Come in. A deep voice sounded. The silver-haired old man pushed the door open carefully and saw a tall man standing in the courtyard. He was barefooted and wore a sackcloth robe. His long hair hung loosely over his shoulders, and he had a strange charm. Most importantly, he wore a golden mask on his face. All right, you may leave. The mysterious man with the golden mask took the secret letter and waved his hand. Yes. After the silver-haired old man left respectfully, the mysterious man with the golden mask opened the secret letter and read it carefully. Under the cover of the golden mask, his expression couldn't be seen clearly. However, as he read, he suddenly let out a strange laugh. Once, twice. Ting Qingshan, let's see how you can avoid the third time. 4 chapters completed. I solemnly inform everyone, it's the last day of March. Brothers, if you don't cast your monthly vote on the last day, it will expire and become invalid. You can vote by clicking on the recommended monthly vote support author below. Monthly votes, vote for me. Chapter 572. On the evening of the 28th of March, in the Xingyi sect in the Great Yen Mountain, a small, fist-sized, green-feathered bird flew into the Xingyi sect from the southwest like a sharp arrow. It flew into a mansion that the bird was used to living in. A disciple of the Xingyi sect immediately ran to the bird and took out a secret letter sealed in a bamboo tube from the bird's leg. There were 3 golden sword marks on the bamboo tube. A secret letter with 3 swords? The disciple was startled. This was the highest-level secret letter in the Xingyi sect. Normally, secret letters would be read by the subordinates of Elder Zhong Lu. However, the highest-level secret letter would be delivered directly to Elder Zhong Lu. I have to report this to the Elder immediately. The young disciple immediately flew towards Zhong Lu's location. After a while, in the East Flower Garden, Ting Qingshan was studying a fist art in an open space. Because he was concerned about his daughter, Ting Qingshan couldn't cultivate in seclusion for a month. Sovereign, sovereign. Elder Zhong Lu's voice came from outside. Phew. Ting Qingshan stopped and exhaled slowly. Uncle Zhong, what's so urgent? Ting Qingshan smiled and turned his head. He saw Elder Zhong Lu's face was full of anxiety. Elder Zhong Lu handed over the secret letter and said, "Sovereign, something bad has happened. This is a secret letter that was just sent from Yong'an County. The secret letter says that Linlin left Yong'an County." What? Ting Qingshan was startled. Why did Linlin leave Yong'an County? Ting Qingshan immediately took the secret letter from Elder Zhong Lu and read it carefully. Elder Zhong Lu didn't say anything. Reading the secret letter, Ting Qingshan's face darkened. She left Yong'an County with Fan Anren and his father, Fan Wudong? I think they are going to pay their respects to Fan Anren's deceased mother? Ting Qingshan was very angry. This matter seemed to be reasonable, but Ting Qingshan had already given his daughter and son an order in the past. For now, he was only allowed to stay in the Great Yen Mountain and Yong'an County. They were not allowed to go out easily. If they really wanted to go somewhere else, they had to get permission from Ting Qingshan. All along, his daughter and son had been doing a good job. But his daughter had gone out with Fan Anren without informing him at all. Ting Qingshan understood that his daughter was obviously angry with him. At the same time, it also showed that his daughter really trusted this young man called Fan Anren. My daughter doesn't have any of the astuteness she used to have. Ting Qingshan shook his head. Sect Master, Linlin went out like this. I'm worried that the faction that is plotting against the Xing-Yi sect will take action. Elder Zhong Lu said anxiously. We can't be careless when it comes to Linlin's life. If we're really captured by that force, it'll be troublesome. Don't worry. A cold glint flashed across Ting Qingshan's eyes. If that force really shows itself, it's a good thing. This time, I've already asked Little Blue to follow Linlin and protect her. If Linlin is really in danger, we might be able to use this opportunity to find out who's behind this. How dare they plot against me again and again? If they still want to touch my daughter, I'll definitely eradicate them. Ting Qingshan hated enemies who threatened the lives of his loved ones the most. Just wait and see. If they're really here to pay their respects to Fan Anren's mother, then forget it. If there's a conspiracy behind this, I want to see who's behind this. A cold glint flashed across Ting Qingshan's eyes. He couldn't help but exert force in his right hand. The secret letter in his hand immediately turned into dust. On the evening of the 30th of March, Jia, on the official road in Yenzhou, 3 fine horses were galloping. Wherever they passed, they kicked up a cloud of dust. Linlin, it's getting late, and we're in the middle of nowhere. I think we should find somewhere nearby and spend the night. Fan Anren carried a long spear on his back as he rode his horse alongside Honglin. Okay. Honglin looked at the sky. The sun had already set. The sky was dark. It was obvious that it was getting dark. Anren, how about this? We'll rest for the night on the barren land by the road ahead. Okay. Fan Anren smiled and nodded. He turned around to look at Fan Wudong, who was riding behind him. He shouted, "Father, let's rest here." Okay. The disheveled old man responded. With the sound of horses neighing, the 3 fine horses stopped on the barren land not far away. First, the 3 fine horses were tied to a big tree at the side. Sigh. Old man Fan Wudong swung his arms and shook his head. I'm getting old. I didn't expect that on the 3rd day of the journey, my whole body would be sore from the bumpy road. When I was a mounted bandit, I rode on a horse every day. I'm getting old. My body is getting worse. As he spoke, Fan Wudong casually sat on a patch of weeds. Linlin, father, eat something. Fan Anren opened the package and placed it on the barren land. There was a lot of food in the package. Linlin, we'll make do for tonight, Fan Anren said with a smile. It's okay. If there's a chance later, we might be able to hunt some pheasants. Honglin looked around and rolled her eyes, appearing very mischievous. Fan Anren looked around and said, "This is the wilderness. It's really hard to find pheasants. As he spoke, he took 2 bites of the flatbread. Then, he took out a water bottle from his waist and handed it to Hong Lin. He said with a smile, Lin, come, drink some water. We've been on the road for such a long time and haven't drunk any water. Is your throat dry? Yes, it's dry. Hong Lin coughed on purpose. Fan Anren couldn't help but chuckle. You guys chat. I'll go to the side. Old man Fan Wudong blinked his eyes and walked to the side. Hong Lin and Fan Anren looked at each other and grinned. Hong Lin immediately grabbed the water bottle, raised her head, and drank. Glug glug. Fan Anren was slightly dazed as he stared at her white neck. The sound of Hong Lin drinking water was so clear in his ears. Sigh. Fan Anren let out a long sigh. Anren, why are you sighing? You look like an old man. Hong Lin put down the water bottle, wiped the corner of her mouth, and said with a smile. It's nothing. I just feel a little uncomfortable. Fan Anren took the water bottle and looked down at it. Then, he looked at Hong Lin again. His gaze was very special. Sometimes it was sad, sometimes it was loving, and sometimes it was resentful. Hong Lin was startled. Why are you looking at me like that? It's scary. Hong Lin's expression suddenly changed, and she frowned. Anren, Hong Lin said to Fan Anren anxiously. Don't drink the water. There's something wrong with the water in this bottle. It's poisonous. As she spoke, Hong Lin's face turned slightly pale. It's poisonous, Fan Anren said indifferently. He lowered his head and looked at the kettle in his hand. Then, he shook his head and smiled. He threw the kettle in an arc and it fell on the ground. Gurgle, the water in the kettle flowed out continuously. This poison is called bone-softening powder. You won't die after drinking it. However, your limbs will be weak, and you won't be able to use your inner strength. I'm afraid you won't even be able to defeat a child. Fan Anren stood up, and the disheveled old man, Fan Wudong, also stood up. The disheveled old man, who had seemed muddle-headed, suddenly became spirited. He became much more valiant. Bone-softening powder? Hong Lin stared fixedly at Fan Anren. He didn't look handsome, and he was just a simple young man with delicate features. Even a fool would understand what was going on at this moment. Anren. Why? Hong Lin still couldn't believe it. This silly girl. Fan Wudong, who was at the side, looked down at Hong Lin and sneered. Ting Hong Lin, if you want to blame someone, blame your father. Blame my father. Hong Lin shook her head and continued to stare at Fan Anren. Anren, tell me. Why did you do this? Everything you told me in the past was fake? At this moment, although her entire body was weak, Hong Lin was like an angry lion. She glared at the only man she had ever loved. Ting Hong Lin. Fan Anren looked at her and shook his head with a smile. I don't hate you, but I don't like you either. I really can't feel a shred of love for the daughter of an enemy who destroyed my family. Ting Hong Lin's heart turned cold. The daughter of my enemy? Can't feel any love for him? Even though she knew it was Fan Anren who poisoned her, Ting Hong Lin still couldn't believe it. Everything that happened in the past year was just an act. I have to admit that Ting Qingshan is Ting Qingshan. He's a great figure in the land of the 9 prefectures. I think I've done enough. Even my adoptive father couldn't see any flaws in it. However, Ting Qingshan could. Fan Anren smiled faintly. Unfortunately, no matter how wise a person is, his daughter isn't necessarily smart. Foster father, inform them, Fan Anren said. Fan Wudong nodded and quickly took out a whistling arrow from his bag. Chi-chi, after it was ignited. Xiao! The whistling arrow flew through the air, emitting an ear-piercing sound. Anren, you, how could you? Hong Lin couldn't believe it. You are a disciple of the Gui Yuan sect. How could you? She couldn't believe that a young man who had lived in the Gui Yuan sect since he was young was actually fake. 15 years. Foster father and I pretended to be in Yong'an County for 15 years. No, to be more accurate, foster father pretended to be me for 15 years. I pretended to be me for 10 years. 10 years ago, after I found out the truth, I, Fan Anren, knew what I should do. I, Fan Anren, know what I should do. Fan Anren's gaze was sharp. When he first joined the Guiyuan sect, he did not pretend. At that time, he didn't know his background at all. Later, he found out. My foster father and I have been together for 15 years. We waited for this day. It's enough to catch you. The light in Fan Anren's eyes was frightening. No, no, Honglin still couldn't believe it. The man who was so sweet with her and even prepared to marry her suddenly became like this. This was a nightmare she didn't want to believe. He's here. Fan Anren and Fan Wudong looked at the distant official road. The sound of horses' hooves could be heard. There are only 4.5 hours left in March. Brothers, if we don't vote now, when are we going to vote? Chapter 573. 2 fine horses and a horse carriage were rushing over at high speed. The lake has stopped flowing. A loud shout came from afar. The old man, Fan Wudong, immediately replied, Qingshan's expression has changed. Lulu, the newcomers immediately stopped. The leader was a tall man with a saber on his back. His most obvious feature was his pair of ears. This person's eyes were like lightning, and it was obvious that his strength was astonishing. He glanced at Fan Anren, Fan Wudong, and Honglin, who had no strength to stand up. He smiled and said, Congratulations, you two. You have made a great contribution. Fan Anren and Fan Wudong smiled faintly. Guards! As the order was given, 2 young girls rushed out of the carriage, each holding an iron chain. After coming to Honglin's side, they handcuffed Honglin's hands and feet behind her back. Honglin's eyes were filled with resentment and pain. Kill me if you can. Kill me! Honglin roared at Fan Anren. No hurry. It's not time yet, Fan Anren said indifferently, not caring about Honglin's expression. Soon, Honglin was brought into the carriage by the 2 young girls. Fan Wudong, Fan Anren, and the others escorted the carriage and quickly left in the hazy night. Thousands of zhang high in the sky. The undying phoenix, Little Blue, was surrounded by clouds, staring at the scene below. Little Blue's intelligence was not lower than that of humans. Of course, she knew what was going on. According to Ting Qingshan's instructions, as long as his daughter's life was not in danger or she was not disabled, there was no need to worry. They would take action when they found the force behind it. Below, the carriage and horses moved forward, and the undying phoenix followed them in the sky. Not long after, the carriage left the official road and entered an ordinary path. It was bumpy all the way, and when the sky was completely dark, it finally arrived at a mysterious mountain villa built in the forest. Inside the mountain villa. Who are they capturing? Why are they so mysterious? Some of the men in the mountain villa were obviously not clear about the identity of the person they captured today. Don't worry so much. Do what you need to do, the leader shouted. The carriage stopped in the front yard of the villa, and there was a huge iron cage in the front yard. A bare-chested bald man strode over and opened the door of the iron cage with a clang. Soon after, 2 young girls in the carriage escorted Honglin, whose body was weak and couldn't even walk, to the door of the iron cage. He gave it a fierce push. Honglin's entire body was exhausted, and she collapsed in the iron cage. Light the torches. The leader with a pair of prominent ears shouted. Chi-chi, the entire front yard was instantly lit up with 8 torches, illuminating the entire front yard. The leader looked at the people around him and shouted, From now on, 6 people in a group, stay around the iron cage and keep a close eye on this girl. No mistakes were allowed. Every 6 hours there would be a new batch of people. Take turns. Remember, you must watch carefully. If this girl escapes, all of us, including me, will definitely die. The leader's voice was ice cold. Most of these people didn't know who this girl was. When they heard what their leader said, they were all shocked. Don't worry, big brother. She's locked in the iron cage, and we can all see her. Nothing will happen to her, the bare-chested bald man yelled as he patted his chest. If anyone is tired and wants to sleep, just tell me. If you're really tired, just tell me and I'll get someone to take your place. Don't ever fall asleep while watching over this girl. As long as someone is asleep, as long as I discover him, I will immediately take his life. At this moment, no mistakes can be allowed. The leader's words made everyone's heart tremble. Taking his life just because he dozed off? Haha, aren't you afraid of my father? In the iron cage, Hong Lin, whose hair was messy and face was pale, sneered. Shut up, the leader shouted. If you want me to shut up, I'll shut up. If you have the ability, just kill me. My father will make all of you die miserably. Like a crazy she-wolf, Hong Lin stared at Fan Anren, who had been silent all this time. At this moment, a white little bird flew through the iron cage and perched on Hong Lin's shoulder. Little White. Hong Lin looked at the little bird on her shoulder with a sour expression. What's wrong with that little bird? The leader with the big ears outside shouted with a frown. Fan Anren, who was at the side, said calmly, This little bird is just a plaything she keeps. It's nothing. Keeping a bird? She's indeed a lady from a big family. How boring. The leader sneered and walked to the side, sitting cross-legged on the ground. Fan Anren and Fan Wudong also sat cross-legged on the ground. On the third floor of a pavilion in the manor, a black-clothed man saw the scene in the front yard through the window. He smiled and said, Finally, Ting Qingshan's daughter is caught. Then he took out a messenger pigeon from the birdcage beside him. The messenger pigeon's leg was tied with a secret letter. The messenger pigeon flew out of the window and quickly flew toward Yangzhou, disappearing into the night. Yangzhou, Xian and city in Nanxing County, in that ordinary mansion. Late at night. You can leave. The mysterious golden-masked man looked at the secret letter in his hand and waved his hand. The silver-haired elder left respectfully, leaving the golden-masked man alone in the courtyard. It has finally begun. Ting Qingshan, I'm not interested in your daughter at all. Killing your daughter is too easy for you, the mysterious golden-masked man murmured in a low voice. The mysterious golden-masked man murmured in a low voice. Then, he laughed strangely and walked into his house. In this room, only the light from the candles could barely illuminate the room. The mysterious golden-masked man held a writing brush and quickly wrote something on a piece of paper. After that, he carefully put the secret letter into the envelope. Holding the secret letter in his hand, the golden-masked man walked out of the house. Like a gust of wind, he swayed easily and came to the backyard of the mansion. In the dark backyard, there was a huge flying demonic beast that was more than 30 feet long lying on the ground. This flying demonic beast suddenly opened its eyes. Its blood-red eyes seemed to carry a bloody aura. This huge flying demonic beast used its head to rub the arm of the golden-masked man familiarly. Screech, screech, a series of bird chirps came from the throat of the golden-masked man. The huge flying demonic beast let out a cry and immediately soared into the sky. Whoosh! The golden-masked man jumped several zhang high and landed on the back of this black flying demonic beast. Ting Qingshan. This time, I will make you feel pain and regret for the rest of your life. With the secret letter in his hand, the golden-masked man sat on the back of this black flying demonic beast and rapidly flew towards the Great Yen Mountain. This huge demonic beast quickly disappeared into the night. On the first day of April, the sun had already risen. In that mysterious mountain villa, the old man Fan Wudong carried a tray with a lot of food on it. He carried it to the front of the iron cage and placed it on the ground. Hey, wake up! Don't sleep! Clang! 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 Fan Wudong kicked the iron cage twice. The ear-piercing sound instantly woke Hong Lin up. Hong Lin opened her eyes drowsily and blankly asked, Where am I? Yesterday, she only fell asleep when it was almost dawn. Now that she was suddenly woken up, Hong Lin couldn't react for a moment. When she saw the gloomy and cold mountain villa and the many guards staring at her, she immediately sobered up. So, all of this isn't a dream. Hong Lin's heart was filled with bitterness and bitterness. Why did it become like this? Fan Anren. Hong Lin stared at Fan Anren, who was far away. However, Fan Anren was chatting with the people beside him and didn't even look at her. Father, father. Hong Lin's eyes were filled with tears. I was wrong. I blamed you wrongly. However, I don't know if I will be able to see you again in this lifetime. At this moment, Hong Lin suddenly woke up from her beautiful dream and saw everything clearly. She knew that her father, Ting Qingshan, did it for her own good. Ting Qingshan didn't know about his daughter's current predicament. However, on the morning of the 2nd day of April, he received an important letter. Teacher, teacher. Yang Dong quickly ran in. Teacher, something bad has happened. Something bad has happened. Yang Dong seemed very panicked. At this moment, Ting Qingshan was practicing his fist art. Li Jun was sitting beside him. What's wrong? Ting Qingshan seemed very calm. However, Li Jun hastily asked, What's wrong? Junior sister Linlin. Junior sister Linlin has been captured, Yang Dong said anxiously. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun's expressions became solemn as they looked at each other. Actually, when their daughter Hong Lin left Yong'an County with Fan Anren, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun had already guessed that something like this would happen. Therefore, they were a little anxious and a little angry, but they weren't surprised. Give it to me. Ting Qingshan took the secret letter. Teacher, this secret letter was sent by the Qingshan Guild in Jiangning County. They said that it was left by a powerful expert. After knowing the contents, they sent it here overnight, Yang Dong said. Ting Qingshan nodded his head slightly. The letter was opened. There were only a few words on it. Ting Qingshan, your daughter is in my hands. If you want to save your daughter, there is only one way. Take the 5-element boxing of the Xingyi sect and arrive at the top of Tianlan Mountain in Yenzhou at noon on the 2nd day of April. If you don't arrive on time, then wait to collect your daughter's corpse. Ting Qingshan wasn't surprised by the contents of the letter. However, his heart was burning with anger. 2nd day of April? Isn't it today? Li Jun couldn't help but say, Qingshan, Linlin has indeed gone out with Fan Anren. Could she really be in his hands? If he dares to say so, it must be true. Ting Qingshan appeared very calm. Teacher, junior sister Hong Lin's life is more important. Yang Dong was extremely anxious. He didn't know that Ting Qingshan had arranged for the undying phoenix, Little Blue, to follow Linlin in secret. Don't worry. Ting Qingshan revealed a cold smile. Today, I want to see who is playing tricks behind the scenes. Ting Qingshan felt that the truth would soon be revealed. Here comes the 2nd chapter. There will be 4 chapters today as well. The last 2.5 hours. March the last moment. If you have monthly votes, please support Tomatoes. Thank you. Chapter 574. Ah Dong, remember, when I leave the Xingyi sect in 2 hours, ask all the elite disciples and innate experts in the sect to disperse. Don't gather, Ting Qingshan instructed. Yes, teacher, Yang Dong replied respectfully. Little June, ask the blade-like Qi to come over later. Ask it to guard the Xingyi sect. Ask it to attack the Xingyi sect if an emptiness realm expert attacks it. Ting Qingshan said calmly, if I'm not mistaken, there is a 50% chance that the enemy will attack the Xingyi sect when I'm not around. Attack the Xingyi sect? Attack the Xingyi sect? Yang Dong was shocked. Teacher, didn't the letter say that you are to go to Yenzhou's Tianlan Mountain? Ting Qingshan shook his head and smiled. Ah Dong, if your junior martial sister Linlin falls into his hands, I will definitely go to Tianlan Mountain. No matter how unwilling I am, I will still rush to Tianlan Mountain. However, I have already asked the Undying Phoenix, Little Blue, to help protect Linlin in secret. To prevent any accidents, Little Blue even brought a grass of immortality with her. She will definitely be fine. The grass of immortality could even revive a person who had just died as long as his spirit had not dissipated. Ting Qingshan couldn't afford to lose his daughter. Therefore, he asked the Undying Phoenix, Little Blue, to bring a grass of immortality with her. Yang Dong heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he smiled and said, "Since the enemy doesn't have anything on you, you don't have to go to Tianlan Mountain. Moreover, Qingshan and I suspect that they are trying to lure us away. After all, Linlin and Fan Anren have been together for a long time. If Fan Anren wanted to kill Linlin, he could have killed her in a short time. However, he didn't kill her. Instead, he lured Linlin out of the city. What is he doing?" Yang Dong smiled and said, "Yes, as a hostage. Junior martial sister Linlin is in their hands. They can use her to threaten you." Yang Dong was a smart man. They can hide spies in the Guiyuan sect for more than 10 years. Furthermore, they even managed to woo my daughter. This force must be plotting something big. Ting Qingshan said calmly, "There are two possibilities. First, this is a great hidden force, just like the Heavenly God Palace that hid in the past. They want to obtain the secret manual of the five-element fist of Xing Yi so that their forces can become even stronger. The second possibility is to take revenge on the surviving members of Qinghu Island," Ting Qingshan said. The land of the 9 prefectures was too vast. Ting Qingshan did not dare to say that there were no other hidden troop. For example, the Wanxiang sect that had never contended for hegemony. For example, the god of wealth, Zhu Tong, whose wealth was comparable to that of a country. That god of wealth, Zhu Tong, had business connections all over the world. Among his subordinates who opened restaurants and cloth stores, there might be hidden experts. After all, a truly powerful force did not necessarily need to hide in the form of a sect. If it's the first possibility, they don't have anything on me, so I don't have to be threatened by them. If it's the second possibility, I will take this opportunity to wipe out the remaining elites of Qinghu Island." Ting Qingshan said with a smile, "Later, I will leave the Xingyi sect. Then, I will return from the underground and go 40 li under the Great Yen Mountain." "Teacher, you..." Yang Dong was shocked. "Go out and come back?" In an instant, Yang Dong understood what Ting Qingshan meant. "Little June, tell the blade-like Qi later. If an emptiness realm expert attacks the Xingyi sect, tell the blade-like Qi to immediately roar and inform me." Ting Qingshan said, "When the time comes, I will immediately break out of the ground and join hands with the blade-like Qi. If the enemy is too strong, we can ask our neighbor, the demonic dragon Violet Rain, for help." Since Ting Qingshan wanted to establish his roots in the Great Yen Mountain, he naturally went to visit the demonic dragon Violet Rain and the golden dragon turtle. The golden dragon turtle knew Ting Qingshan, so it was easy to befriend them. At first, Ting Qingshan thought that it would be difficult to befriend the demonic dragon Violet Rain. However, he didn't expect that the demonic dragon Violet Rain would treat Ting Qingshan very well. The demonic dragon Violet Rain liked to sleep, and it was normal for it to sleep for a few years. In the past 19 years, it had only met Ting Qingshan 3 times. However, during these 3 times, Ting Qingshan and the demonic dragon Violet Rain had a great conversation, with Li Jun as the interpreter. If they really encountered any danger, Ting Qingshan believed that there wouldn't be any problems if he asked the demonic dragon Violet Rain for help. However, if it wasn't necessary, Ting Qingshan didn't want to disturb the demonic dragon Violet Rain. He knew very well that the demonic dragon Violet Rain hated people who disturbed its sleep. "Okay. I will tell the blade-like Qi immediately. Li Jun nodded. After about 2 hours, Ting Qingshan saw that the sun had risen high in the sky. Little Jun, I will leave the Xing Yi sect to you and the blade-like Qi, Ting Qingshan instructed. Under the gaze of his wife, Li Jun, Ting Qingshan transformed into a beam of light and flew towards the southwest. Soon, Ting Qingshan had flown 1,000 li. Then, he dived into the ground and dived deep into the ground. Deep underground, Ting Qingshan hurried back. Traveling underground was much slower than flying. This round trip took about 1 hour. Ting Qingshan had already returned to the depths of the Great Yen Mountain, approximately 40 li deep into the Great Yen Mountain. This place is so hot. Ting Qingshan sat cross-legged in the rock stratum. The power of the heavens and earth had pushed the surrounding rocks away. About 10 zhang above Ting Qingshan was the scorching hot lava. I wonder if it's the remnants of Qinghu Island. Or if it's a hidden force that really wants the 5-element fist of the Xing Yi sect. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. Then, he closed his eyes and sat quietly, waiting. In the mysterious mountain villa built in the forest in Yanzhou. As time passed, Honglin, who was in the iron cage, felt her strength gradually recover. The bone-softening powder couldn't make a person powerless forever. There was a time limit. Now I have recovered about 20% of my strength. The more I practice, the faster I will recover. I should be able to recover completely by nightfall. Honglin sat quietly in the iron cage. Her lips were dry and she seemed weak. Damn it. The shackles are made of dark steel. Honglin's hands were tied behind her. Under the special dark steel shackles, she couldn't exert enough strength. Even if I was at my peak, I wouldn't be able to break these dark steel shackles. Unless I master the half-step collapsing fist and reach the Grandmaster realm. Maybe I can succeed. Honglin was anxious. Suddenly, Lord! The guards, including the leader with the prominent ears, all bowed respectfully to a black-robed man who was walking over from afar. Even Fan Anren and his adoptive father, Fan Wutong, bowed. Who is that? He seems to have a high status. Honglin lifted her head and glanced. This man was dressed in a black cloak. His face was sallow, and his eyes were like those of a dead fish. He emitted a cold and gloomy aura. Lady Honglin. A cold voice came from the black-cloaked man. Humph. Ting Honglin stared at him coldly. TSK. You still have the temper of a young lady? Lady Honglin, this is not the Xing Yi sect. The black-cloaked man sneered. However, Ting Honglin turned her head and didn't even look at him. Guards. The black-cloaked man pointed at the iron cage and said, Open the iron door. Honglin was shocked. Yes, Lord. The leader with the prominent ears personally ran over and used the key to unlock the lock. Then, with a clang, he opened the iron door. Honglin stared at the black-cloaked man and asked, What do you want? The black-cloaked man looked up and said, There are still 2 hours until noon. Yes, I can do it. Fan Anren, come here. Lord. Fan Anren was very respectful in front of the black-cloaked man. Now use this saber. The black-cloaked man took out a short saber and pointed it at Honglin. He said sternly, Cut her face with your own hands. Cut her face 19 times. Not one less, not one more. Fan Anren was shocked. Disfigure her face? You. Honglin stared at the black-cloaked person in shock. For a young girl, one could imagine how much importance she placed on her appearance. Although Honglin wasn't extremely beautiful, she had inherited Ting Qingshan's and Li Jun's beauty. Her appearance was considered top-notch. In addition, she had cultivated the internal martial art, which made her skin appear even more delicate. She was at the age where she loved to be beautiful the most. The black-cloaked man's face darkened. Yes, Lord. Fan Anren took a deep breath and took the short saber. Then, he looked at Honglin, who was in the iron cage. Anren, you really want to? Hong Lin felt like she was about to go crazy when she thought about how her lover cut her face with his own hand. Don't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame your father, Fan Anren said in a deep voice. Then, he took a step into the iron cage with the short saber in his hand. His eyes were filled with a cold light. Hong Lin wanted to break free from the shackles, but she couldn't do it since she had only recovered 20% of her strength. Fan Anren. Hong Lin clenched her teeth. Humph. Fan Anren walked directly towards Hong Lin. The surrounding people, including the black-cloaked man, sneered. But suddenly, swoosh! A white light instantly pierced through Fan Anren's heart. Fan Anren widened his eyes and looked down at his chest. A bloody hole had already appeared. This. Fan Anren's mouth continuously foamed with blood. Then, he fell into the iron cage with a loud bang. He was dead. Hong Lin was also shocked when she saw this scene. Ah! A series of screams rang out. In the front yard, everyone, including Fan Wudong, was pierced by a white light and fell to the ground with a loud bang. None of them could block it. Clang! The black-cloaked man retreated with a white light. His face was filled with shock and anger. The white light floated in the air. It was the little white bird that had been following Hong Lin. At this moment, the little white bird was staring fiercely at the black-cloaked man. Demonic beast? An innate realm demonic beast? The black-cloaked man couldn't believe that the ordinary-looking sparrow-like little bird was actually a powerful flying demonic beast. He was a true Dan innate realm expert, but he couldn't even injure this demonic beast with a single slash. Little White, Hong Lin was also stunned. A scene from when she was a child immediately appeared in her mind. Lin Hongwu. These two birds are very pitiful. Father and mother just picked them up in the mountains. You two must take good care of them. Since they were young, Hong Lin and Hongwu had been taking care of their own birds. Because they had been together for many years, they had developed feelings for the bird. However, they never knew that these birds, which seemed to be raised by an ordinary rich young master in a birdcage, were actually an innate realm flying demonic beast that had never been recorded in the books. Little thing, watch how I kill you. The black-cloaked man's eyes were cold. Suddenly, a scorching aura instantly covered the entire front yard. The black-cloaked man raised his head and saw a huge divine bird bathed in flames floating above. Undying Phoenix! The black-cloaked man's face instantly turned pale, and his heart fell to the bottom. This is the 3rd chapter, continue writing the 4th chapter. It's the last hour. Monthly votes. Chapter 575. Fire Phoenix? Hong Lin, who was in the iron cage, was startled. The undying Phoenix is here. Is father here as well? Hong Lin couldn't help but look around the sky carefully. However, she couldn't find her father. No! The black-cloaked man roared unwillingly. Under the pressure of the undying Phoenix, the powerful fire elemental power in the surroundings made the black-cloaked man unable to move. Bang! A fiery red energy heavily attacked the black-cloaked man's abdomen. The black-cloaked man's face suddenly turned pale. He knew he was finished. His dantian had already been destroyed. Screech! The undying Phoenix gently grabbed the crippled black-cloaked man with its sharp claws. Then, it looked at Hong Lin. The undying Phoenix opened its sharp beak. Swish! A sharp purple radiance easily broke the shackles on Hong Lin's hands and feet. Hong Lin regained her freedom and immediately stood up. At this moment, the small white bird flew to her shoulder. Little White, thank you. Hong Lin gently stroked the small white bird. She also understood her father, Ting Qingshan's painstaking efforts. He didn't tell the siblings about the special abilities of these two birds because he didn't want them to be too bold with the protection of an innate realm demonic beast. In this way, when there was real danger, these birds could be used as a surprise attack. Actually, The small bird had wanted to save Honglin from the beginning. However, under the Undying Phoenix's order, it didn't dare to do so. The Undying Phoenix originally wanted to catch a big fish. However, the black-cloaked man wanted to destroy Honglin's appearance. This made the Undying Phoenix unable to tolerate it anymore. Thus, it immediately ordered the small white bird to take action. Fan Anren. Honglin lowered her head and looked at the already dead Fan Anren in the iron cage. At this moment, she didn't know whether she should hate or grieve. No matter what, Fan Anren was already dead. Even if she hated him, who could she hate? Everything is fake. Everything is fake. Vows of undying love, everything is fake. For a moment, thousands of thoughts rushed into Honglin's mind. Screech, the Undying Phoenix urged her. Honglin woke up with a start and immediately leaped onto the Undying Phoenix's back. Phew! With a flap of its wings, the Undying Phoenix carried Honglin on its back and grabbed the crippled innate realm black-cloaked man with its sharp claws. It rushed toward Yangzhou. At this time, Ting Qingshan must have set off. High up in the sky, the mysterious golden-masked man was sitting cross-legged on a black bird-type demonic beast. This bird-type demonic beast was completely black and looked a bit like a crow. However, its body was huge and its eyes were blood-red. Ting Qingshan, when you go to Yenzhou, it will be a wasted trip. After this, when you return to the Great Yen Mountain, you will find that your Xing-Yi sect is finished. Countless experts of the Xing-Yi sect have died. Even the secret manuals of the Xing-Yi sect have been spread around the world. The golden-masked man knew very well that as long as the important secret manuals of the Xing-Yi sect were distributed, there would no longer be only one internal martial arts sect in the world. At that time, it would be impossible for the Xing-Yi sect to attract so many internal martial arts cultivators. 19 years of hard work, gone in an instant. Just when you were about to go crazy, your daughter was sent back. You'll find that your daughter has already been disfigured. Her mind has collapsed, and she's become an idiot. The golden-masked man sneered. The sect is finished, and your daughter has become like this. Let's see what happens to Ting Qingshan. Are you suspecting that I am luring the tiger away from the mountain? Even if you suspect me, you still have to save your daughter. The golden-masked man knew this very well. Immediately, the golden-masked man let out a screech. Whoosh! The flying demonic beast carried the golden-masked man on its back and flew rapidly towards the Great Yen Mountain. In just a short while, it flew over 1,000 li and flew above the Great Yen Mountain. The emptiness realm flying demonic beast didn't slow down. It flew over the Great Yen Mountain at an altitude of 20 to 30 li and flew northwest for 500 to 600 li before stopping. Haha, as expected. There are only 3 emptiness realm auras in the Great Yen Mountain. If my guess is correct, it should be the golden dragon turtle and the demonic dragon violet rain. As for the one in the Xing-Yi sect, it should be the 6-legged blade-like chi. The golden-masked man smiled and said, as expected, Ting Qingshan and the Undying Phoenix are not here. Haha! With the strength of the emptiness realm culmination, the Black Crow is not afraid of the 6-legged blade-like chi. Perhaps the Black Crow is not as fast as the 6-legged blade-like chi in a small area. However, the Black Crow can move in a straight line. The Black Crow is second only to the wind-splitting dragon falcon. Ting Qingshan and the Undying Phoenix are not here. We are already halfway to success. Ting Qingshan, it has been 19 years. 19 years. I let you live happily for 19 years. It's time for revenge. I will make you feel pain and regret for the rest of your life. The golden-masked man's voice was filled with coldness. In the Xing-Yi sect in the Great Yen Mountain. Martial Madam, did you just say that 2 emptiness realm auras flew by? Yang Dong was slightly surprised. Yes, the blade-like chi sensed it. Li Jun looked worried as she said, if it was an ordinary emptiness realm expert passing by, it wouldn't be strange. However, today is different. At this moment, 2 Emptiness Realm experts flew by. I am a little worried. If 2 Emptiness Realm experts attacked, it would be troublesome. Maybe they were Emptiness Realm experts passing by. Yang Dong comforted, Martial Madam, Teacher and the blade-like Qi will be fine. Li Jun nodded slightly. She was actually very confident in Ting Qingshan. However, she was worried that the aftermath of the battle would severely damage the Xing Yi sect. As she waited anxiously, Li Jun felt that every day felt like a year. At the side, the 6-legged blade-like Qi lay quietly with its eyes closed, resting. Meanwhile, underground, Ting Qingshan also closed his eyes and waited quietly. Not long after, a powerful aura rushed over at an astonishing speed from afar. When this aura entered the area of the 6-legged blade-like Qi's domain, especially when it sensed the hostility of the other party, the 6-legged blade-like Qi, which had been lying on the ground with its eyes closed, instantly disappeared from its original position and rushed high into the sky. At the same time, an angry roar resounded throughout the entire Great Yen Mountain. The roar shook the heavens and the earth. Under the control of the 6-legged blade-like Qi, the roar traveled underground. Deep underground, Ting Qingshan, whose eyes were closed, felt the vibration caused by the roar and instantly opened his eyes. Boom! Ting Qingshan immediately rushed upward. He broke through the layer of rock and rushed through the underground magma. With the fastest speed possible, Ting Qingshan rushed to the surface. The moment Ting Qingshan leaped out of the surface, he saw a shocking scene. He saw a pitch-black bird-type demonic beast fighting with the 6-legged blade-like Qi in midair. Occasionally, the bird-type demonic beast would purposely release gusts of violent wind that blew towards the palaces of the Xing Yi sect below. Rumble, many mansions and palaces collapsed, and many disciples fled frantically. Fortunately, the 6-legged blade-like Qi moved rapidly within a small area and entangled the black bird-type demonic beast, preventing the bird-type demonic beast from destroying madly. However, the 6-legged blade-like Qi's body was already damaged. The green blood on its body was very conspicuous. Oh no, the blade-like Qi is at a disadvantage. Evil creature! Ting Qingshan roared and dashed over rapidly. When the Black Crow saw Ting Qingshan dashing over and sensed Ting Qingshan's powerful aura of soul, it didn't dare to be negligent and hastily retreated. Roar! The 6-legged blade-like Qi let out an excited roar. Ting Qingshan leaped onto the back of the 6-legged blade-like Qi. The 2 pairs of wings of the 6-legged blade-like Qi shook violently, and instantly, several phantoms appeared, preventing the Black Crow from dodging. The 6-legged blade-like Qi didn't chase after the Black Crow at all. Instead, it used the simplest and most effective method. First, once the Black Crow got close, it would entangle with the 6-legged blade-like Qi. At close range, the Black Crow was definitely not as agile as the 6-legged blade-like Qi. Second, once the distance between them increased, the 6-legged blade-like Qi would definitely be below the demonic beast. If the demonic beast wanted to attack the Xing Yi sect, it would have to dive down. The 6-legged blade-like Qi could definitely stop it. After all, the 6-legged blade-like Qi was the strongest in terms of explosive power. Screech! The bird-type demonic beast emitted a roar. Evil creature, die! Ting Qingshan roared and stepped on the 6-legged blade-like Qi. The reincarnation spear in his hand instantly danced. Pursuing shadow. Immediately, the ferocious shadows of the spear instantly covered the bird-type emptiness realm demonic beast. Clang! The sharp claws of the bird-type demonic beast, Black Crow, clashed with Ting Qingshan's reincarnation spear. As soon as the Black Crow clashed, it knew that the situation was not good and hastily tried to soar into the sky. However, the 6-legged blade-like Qi and Ting Qingshan's terrifying reincarnation spear came at the same time. 5 Elemental Toxic Dragon Drill. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Ting Qingshan's eyes. The red tassel on the reincarnation spear danced. For a moment, the black crow couldn't dodge in time and could only use its sharp claws to block. Clang! The power of this spear was far beyond the bird-type demonic beast's estimation. Poochie! Ting Qingshan's spear brushed past the sharp claws and pierced one of the wings of the black crow. Screech! With a shrill cry, the black crow didn't care about anything else. The wound on its right wing instantly closed, and at the same time, it frantically tried to escape. We can't escape. Ting Qingshan stepped on the six-legged blade-like chi, and his eyes flashed with a cold light. The six-legged blade-like chi chased after the black crow crazily. If the black crow had tried to escape at the beginning, it would have been able to escape due to its superior speed. However, now that its wing was injured, its speed was also affected. The Xing-Yi sect, which had been attacked by the Black Crow's Emptiness Realm demonic beast, was in a state of chaos. However, Li Jun, Yang Dong, Ting Shou, and the others all looked up at the sky. The fight between Emptiness Realm experts was as fast as lightning and extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, Ting Qingshan and the six-legged blade-like chi had already chased after the pitch-black bird-type demonic beast. We won. Yang Dong revealed a smile. Yes. Li Jun heaved a sigh of relief. Look! Ting Shou cried out in surprise. A huge shadow suddenly flew out from the forest of the Great Yen Mountain and intercepted Ting Qingshan and the six-legged blade-like chi from the side. Ting Qingshan stared at the demonic dragon Violet Rain, which was spiraling in the sky. He was slightly shocked, angry, and confused. Because of the demonic dragon Violet Rain's obstruction, the demonic beast was delayed. The injured Emptiness Realm demonic beast had already run out of the domain. There was no way to chase after it. Roar! The six-legged blade-like chi emitted a deep roar in dissatisfaction. Brother Violet Rain, what are you doing? Ting Qingshan stared at the demonic dragon Violet Rain. For a moment, he didn't know what to ask. The demonic dragon Violet Rain had a good relationship with him. Why did it stop him? Roar, roar! The spiraling demonic dragon emitted a deep roar. The six-legged blade-like chi understood the roar and turned to look at Ting Qingshan with a confused expression. What is going on? Ting Qingshan was even more confused. Ting Qingshan, who was confused, suddenly felt a familiar aura. He turned to look. A fiery red light flew over rapidly. It was the Undying Phoenix. On the back of the Undying Phoenix was Honglin, who seemed to be in dire straits. At this moment, Honglin's eyes were filled with tears. Father! Honglin's voice sounded from afar. The fourth chapter is over. Brothers, it's a new month. Those who have a guaranteed monthly ticket, please vote for me. Chapter 576. Lin Lin. Ting Qingshan looked at the familiar figure on the back of the Undying Phoenix and couldn't help but feel happy. Honglin, who was on the back of the Undying Phoenix, looked at her father, who was floating in the air with the demonic dragon and the six-legged blade-like chi. She couldn't hold back her tears. She felt guilty towards her father and had been suppressing her feelings ever since she was hurt outside. Only when he saw his loved ones would he be able to fully express the grievances in his heart. Phew! Ting Qingshan flew towards the Undying Phoenix. He glanced at the man in black that was grabbed by Little Blue's sharp claws and thought to himself, this man in black should be one of the people who took Lin Lin away. Ting Qingshan couldn't be bothered with this kind of person and flew onto the back of the Undying Phoenix. Father! Honglin threw herself into Ting Qingshan's arms and hugged Ting Qingshan. She couldn't help but cry. Ting Qingshan hugged his daughter and revealed a gratified smile. He couldn't help but think of the time when his daughter was young and played with the disciples of the sect on the Great Yen Mountain. When she was stung by a wasp, she immediately ran back to hug him and wailed. Although his daughter was old now, this feeling was still the same as before. When she was wronged outside, she would come back to look for her father. After all, parents were always the strongest support for their children. Don't cry. Don't cry, Ting Qingshan said as he patted his daughter's back. Yes. In her father's arms, Hong Lin felt comforted. She let go of her father and looked at him. She said softly, "Father, I'm sorry." Haha, it's okay. The dissatisfaction in Ting Qingshan's heart had disappeared. Let's go. Holding his daughter's hand, Ting Qingshan flew towards the demonic dragon Violet Rain and the six-legged blade-like Qi roar. The demonic dragon nodded slightly at Ting Qingshan and let out a deep roar. Roar. Ting Qingshan also let out a deep roar. He only knew a few simple words in the language of beasts. Now, he was inviting the demonic dragon Violet Rain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The three demonic beasts, the undying phoenix, the demonic dragon Violet Rain, and the six-legged blade-like Qi, along with Ting Qingshan, who was holding his daughter's hand, flew into the East Flower Garden of the Xing-Yi sect. The Xing-Yi sect was affected by the terrifying gale created by the bird-type demonic beast, the Black Crow. Many palaces and mansions collapsed, and many disciples of the Xing-Yi sect were injured. Look! What a long divine dragon! The undying phoenix is over there. The sect master is right next to him. Many disciples of the Xing-Yi sect looked up, and their eyes lit up. The legendary demonic dragon, the undying phoenix, and even the sovereign of the Xing-Yi sect, Ting Qingshan, were legendary existences in the hearts of the disciples of the Xing-Yi sect. Now that they were able to witness such a sight, they were so excited that they found it hard to control their emotions. No more. It seems to have flown into the East Flower Garden. Many disciples felt empty in their hearts. They glanced at the East Flower Garden in the distance. That was the residence of their sovereign, the founder of the internal martial art, Ting Qingshan. Only a few people of the Xing-Yi sect were qualified to enter the East Flower Garden. Why are all of you standing there? Quick, help move the rocks, a disciple immediately shouted. Over here, over here. Two people, come quickly. Junior Marshal Brother Wang is trapped underneath. Quick. Move the rocks over here. The road is blocked. The disciples of the Xing-Yi sect shouted, trying their best to save the unlucky disciples who were trapped by the collapse of their mansions. In the East Flower Garden of the Xing-Yi sect, in the martial courtyard where the training field was located, there was a large training field here. Therefore, this courtyard was the largest courtyard in the entire East Flower Garden. At this moment, a huge demonic dragon was sitting on the training field. The demonic dragon's two huge golden eyes were like wheels, and its breath froze the surrounding air. Little June. Let Lin Lin rest at the side, Ting Qingshan said. Help me ask Brother Zishi. Previously, when I was chasing after the bird-type demonic beast with the blade-like Qi, why did Brother Zishi stop us? Hongwu, come and accompany your sister. Yes. Hongwu, come and accompany your sister. Okay. Hongwu nodded. Li Jun saw the scene in the sky when she was in the Xing-Yi sect. She was also confused as to why the demonic dragon stopped Ting Qingshan and the others. She turned to look at the demonic dragon and let out a deep roar. The demonic dragon, Violet Rain, looked at Ting Qingshan. There was a hint of kindness in its huge golden eyes. It let out a few roars, and the roars echoed in the courtyard. However, the disciples of the Xing-Yi sect couldn't hear any sound. The entire space of the martial courtyard had been frozen. The sound waves couldn't be transmitted. Li Jun was surprised. What did he say? Ting Qingshan couldn't help but ask. Qingshan, Brother Violet Rain said that he is helping you. Li Jun had a strange expression on her face. Helping me? Ting Qingshan widened his eyes. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He is more of a hindrance than a help. And he is helping me, really. Brother Violet Rain, why don't you ask him if he's helping me by stopping us? Li Jun was also puzzled. She immediately asked the demonic dragon, Violet Rain. The huge head of the demonic dragon nodded slightly, and let out a roar. Li Jun had a look of realization. Ting Qingshan was even more confused. He then looked at Ting Qingshan and explained, Qingshan, the demonic dragon Violet Rain said that the emptiness realm flying demonic beast was called Black Crow. Although his talent wasn't that great. However, it was still a bird-type emptiness realm demonic beast that had lived for thousands of years. Among the emptiness realm demonic beasts, its strength could only be considered average. However, if you kill this emptiness realm demonic beast, you will provoke a great enemy. That emptiness realm demonic beast must not be killed. Great enemy! Ting Qingshan instantly understood what the demonic dragon Violet Rain meant. Obviously, this Black Crow demonic beast's origin was not ordinary. Killing it would cause a huge disaster. What kind of enemy did you provoke? Little June asked the emptiness realm demonic beast, Black Crow. What is its origin? Ting Qingshan frowned and said, I suspect that the force behind it is conspiring against the Xing-Yi sect. Yes. Li Jun's expression was solemn as she went to ask the demonic dragon Violet Rain again. This time, the demonic dragon Violet Rain told Li Jun for a long time and told her a lot of information. Ting Qingshan saw that Li Jun was sometimes surprised, sometimes nodding, and sometimes showing an expression of disbelief. After a long time, she finally understood. For a moment, Ting Qingshan's mind was filled with doubts. Finally, the demonic dragon Violet Rain stopped talking. Little June, tell me, what is going on? Ting Qingshan hastily said. Yang Dong, Hongwu, and Honglin, who were at the side, also stared at Li Jun. Li Jun couldn't help but sigh and said, Qingshan, I finally understand. What do you understand? The bird-type emptiness realm demonic beast, Black Crow. What force is behind it? Qingshan. The bird-type demonic beast, Black Crow, is actually the godly beast of the barbarian tribe temple or the giant tribe temple, Li Jun answered. Ting Qingshan blinked. Honglin, Hongwu, and Yang Dong, who were standing at the side, were all dumbfounded. Temple? The barbarian tribe temple or the giant tribe temple? What temple? How come I have never heard of it? Ting Qingshan frowned. Li Jun smiled and said, It's normal that you don't know. The desolate land to the south of Yangzhou is very vast. However, the depth of the desolate land is about 10,000 li. There is a group of humans living there. These people, as long as they are ordinary people, are at least 10 zhang, 5 meters tall. The taller ones are even taller. Therefore, they are called the giant tribe. In other words, the barbarian tribe. What? Ting Qingshan couldn't believe it. Barbarian tribe? Giant tribe? Honglin, Hongwu, and Yang Dong were completely stunned. Everyone knew that the desolate land was extremely dangerous. The deeper one went, the more dangerous it would be. Even first-rated warriors couldn't survive for long in the depths of the desolate land. Poisonous insects and beasts could be seen everywhere. The deeper one went into the desolate land, the more dangerous it would be. There was actually a group of humans living in the depths of 10,000 li? According to what the demonic dragon Violet Rain said. Li Jun sighed and said, During the tribal era, Emperor, you hadn't unified the world and divided the 9 prefectures. At that time, Emperor, you hadn't even been born yet. The entire land was plagued by endless floods and torrents wreaked havoc. Many tribes were forced to migrate. Many of them had hundreds of thousands of people or even more. They all entered the desolate land together. The forest in the desolate land is dense, so there was no flood. Ting Qingshan was shocked when he heard this. He had heard that the flood in the tribal era was a great disaster. After that, Yu the Great, who unified the world and controlled the flood, was worshipped by countless people in the land of the 9 prefectures. For generations, when they offered sacrifices to Yu the Great, they would first say Emperor Yu is above. Then, they would say many things that they hoped for. From this, One could imagine how grateful the people were to Emperor Yu. From this, one could see how terrifying the flood was. It even forced some tribes to move into the desolate land. Back then, there were many tribes that entered the wildlands one after another. Although the desolate land was dangerous, there were many powerful warriors in the tribal era. In addition, there were many people who entered the desolate land. Relying on their numbers, they went deeper and deeper. They fought with poisonous insects and fierce beasts. Along the way, many tribe members died. However, these tribes continued to move forward. They wanted to find a suitable place to live. After all, there were too many poisonous insects and fierce beasts in the desolate land. Death, struggle, and move forward. The entire tribe had women and children. Therefore, they moved forward very slowly. Many people died on the way. Finally, in the depths of the desolate land, they found a place with fewer poisonous insects and fierce beasts. In that place, the people of the tribes who had experienced many disasters were the last elites and the last survivors. These elites had fought with many wild beasts and even demonic beasts. They had been bitten by poisonous insects, but they survived. From then on, these people lived in the depths of the desolate land. They kept the habits of the tribal era. Because they lived in the desolate land for a long time, and because of some special reasons, these barbarian tribe or giant tribe lived in the fertile land of the 9 prefectures like us. There was a huge difference. And the temple that I mentioned before ruled the entire barbarian tribe. Li Jun's voice echoed in the courtyard. Ting Qingshan and the others listened quietly. Chapter 1. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.